Well, don't everybody
Mark, you
all
have done a
talk at once.
fantastic job
Okay.
of setting the
Whoa.
stage here, setting the standards real low, making all of our guests look great by comparison. And I'm doing the same exact thing with a botched introduction. Dale, take it away, please.
Okay. Welcome to IGDA Playtest. Lane, what do we do at Playtest?
We play test.
Oh, and what's that?
Okay, it's when you play games to test them to see how they're coming along. And at this event, we both play the games, and then we also, give our reactions, invite folks to come on and give their reactions and play games as well, and also maybe offer some commentary along the way.
And Mark, what does IGDATC stand for?
It is the International Game Developers Association Twin Cities chapter, and we've been off for 2 months, so that refresher might be useful to folks who are back joining us or watching us later on replay. But yeah, we took the sort of holiday off. We did a big in-person holiday party in December, and we had our first game dev meeting of the year last week. And we're back now with playtest. And Lane, I know you've been itching to get back and hold this event again. Are you? Can you contain your excitement as the Valve released all that pent up
It's too
energy
much,
for
Mark.
playtest?
It is way, way, way too much. Getting back to IGDATC, and I even heard a rumor that Nice Games Club episodes are starting in a couple weeks. Life is too good right now.
That's right. Nice Games Club took its own holiday break, but we do reruns in the meantime. But we'll be back on first week of February or something thereabouts. But we got
And speaking
yeah. Go ahead.
speaking of bottled up excitement, we actually have like not just us, but also the community has been working on some extremely exciting games in the meantime. So I am like really
Ooh.
looking forward to getting these rolling. Now that was my attempt at a segue, but you
Uh
had
huh.
something else to say, Mark. So let's go there for a sec.
Well, you beat me to it. I was just going to say we have a good lineup tonight. We got 4 games to get to, so let's get to the first.
Gotcha. All right. And in the meantime, we have a note from the audience. Minor note. Mark is much louder than the other hosts, and the audio is kind of choppy. I know that there's not always much you can do about that, Mark. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
can
why don't
I
we?
can turn my mic down a little bit,
Okay,
Okay.
it seems like that
but
might help. Uh,
a lot of this is just down to Discord, unfortunately. So we just have to roll with it.
yeah. All right. Thank you very much. So our first guest this evening, this is going to be Ben Burns with Raise the Dead for Fun and Profit. Ben, would you care to give a little introduction?
So Raise the Dead for Fun and Profit is my Ludum Dare entry from a couple weeks ago. The theme was Harvest, and this was an idea I had for quite a while, just kind of sitting in the background, and I realized that this would work very well. This is a game that mixes kind of an auto battler and a matchy game where you like click and drag to match tiles, and then essentially what you do is you match bones and flesh to summon skeletons and zombies, and then they kind of auto battle on the top of the screen. I don't know if you saw the itch page, but essentially there's not much to do right now in the game. It's a little shallow when it comes to gameplay depth, but essentially you match bones to create skeletons, you match flesh to create zombies, and you match dirt to create coins, and coins can be used to expand the size of your grid. And that's pretty much it. I was talking with Lane about a week ago, trying to get this into the playtest, and was offered a bunch of ideas. So if you click the start game, there's actually a couple options for modifiers for the game to either make it more difficult or to like change some of the ways mechanics of how the game works. But as it stands right now, the game is totally playable, and the original mode is not terribly difficult, but maybe that's a good place to start. And I'd love to hear anybody's feedback on it.
Well, we have Carlo lined up as the first playtester, so I want to
Sure.
confirm with him. And you can be a playtester on this game on this show. I'm gonna go with show. Um, by downloading Parsec and joining the stream. There are directions where could you find those, Mark?
You can see it right on screen there. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/tcplaytest. That should get you to the Discord invite, which takes you to the Twin Cities IGDA Discord channel or Discord server, and the event info channel, which has all the instructions in there. So it's one link, and it takes you by a chain of events to the channel in our Discord server, which has all of the instructions.
Okay, I'm at the events info. I have Parsec installed. Okay, I'm trying to see where. Oh, is it up further?
Yeah, I can walk you through it as a way by explaining it to the audience as well.
Sure.
But once you got Parsec installed, you want to make a friend request to our account, IGGATC, and you do that in the Friends tab. You add friend, and then you type it in. It should come up as in a auto search. And then once you send the friend request, I will accept it, and that means that you can then request access to our computer, the Twin Cities Playtest computer. And then you'll request that in the next step, and I'll approve that. And then you will have control of my mouse, in which case you can cause all sorts of mischief.
That's true.
That's the final step, is mischief, yeah. So I've accepted your friend request. So now you can go into the computers tab of Parsec, and you'll see TC Playtest as an option to connect to. And there you go. You've made that request. I'm now accepting that connection, and I'm going to give you. Ben, what are we looking for controls here? Gamepad, mouse, keyboard. What's the ideal?
It's just mouse control
All right.
only. There's no keyboard control, so you should be good.
All right, I'm giving you mouse control now, and you've got it, and it's all up to you at this point.
Okay.
So the game is primarily just click and drag. You just select a tile and drag to group those tiles together, and then you collect them, and then it's, I don't know if you've played many matchy style games in the past, but you can drag diagonally in this one. So you just click and drag, and it should be it.
I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, so I'm click. I don't know if it's like latency issue, but
You can go to the bone. You have to similar tiles.
Oh, he was thinking like a Bejeweled style game. Yeah,
Okay,
not a match.
okay.
No, it's yeah. You're not swapping.
So if I drag these two.
It would be 3 or more, but yes, you should be able to click and drag on it. It might be a parsec. Oh, no, it looks like it's working now.
Yeah, you're just not doing 3. You can't. It seems like
3
you
or
don't
more.
move them. You just the ones that are already connected. You click and drag to select those 3. Right?
Oh, okay. So this one up here.
With the 4.
Yeah, there's.
I will say that when I was
there.
testing this earlier, I also had a similar difficulty getting a handle on the controls. So, which for jam games is par for the course. So we run through it a few times until we get a hang of it.
Yeah, you can just exit and try again. Yeah, and I don't have a tutorial in the game. I have a basic tutorial on the itch page itself, but yeah, it's just use your mouse to click and drag across similar icons to collect them, and you have to have 3 or more highlighted to collect, and you can drag in any direction, including diagonally. So if you want to exit the menu and try again, that's totally fine.
I saw I was actually watching the stream in another window, and I saw I lost about 20 seconds ago, but I was still playing now. So I'm actually I'm gonna head inside and see if I have a better connection there, because I think it might just be like a latency issue.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
I will take over in the meantime.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
I'm at the wheel now, and let's see.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, when you select, you get a little highlight, lets you know it's a valid match.
Yep.
And they all have to be contiguous. Okay, so I get it.
Oh.
And they drop in from the bottom, which is unusual.
Well, the idea is that you're in a graveyard and you're digging stuff up for the graves, so stuff just kind of moves up from the bottom.
But what is the force from beneath? Very mysterious. I'm intrigued, Ben. I have to know more.
I haven't dove that much into the lore yet. But...
Someone has delved that deep before.
Oh yeah.
So what is I'm gonna call it the oblong silver coin?
Yep, those are coins.
Okay.
So on the sides of the grids, you can see you can actually unlock extra tiles if you have enough coins to do so. So the whole point is that you get stronger as the game progresses. because you're able to
Oh.
unlock those grid tiles and have
Okay.
more resources to use.
So cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good. There's a lot of little ideas for escalation that I want to have in this game, but that's kind of the first one. Just so you have more resources to work with, so you can summon bigger waves of monsters.
One thing I'm noticing immediately is I am not at all looking at the screen above to see the zombies.
That's a very common thing, and I'm trying to reconcile that still to find a way to make the above screen interesting while you're still able to pay attention to the bottom stuff. And I'm not sure how to do that really, but
Well, there's also
one
a
of the
question of
things
like how necessary it is. You know, there's sort of something about like it being just visual flourish rather than a totally necessary component. I mean, I'm not letting you off the hook, but
Get him, Mark. Get him.
yeah.
But no, I completely agree. Where it's an auto battler, like you're not supposed to have any agency over any of that up there. So
Yeah.
it's more about just kind of frantically like collecting stuff and then maybe glancing up top to see if you're doing well or not. And eventually I would like to have the ability to like cast spells or like trigger abilities that allow you to do things to help turn the tide of battle, but they're like one use, which would kind of help with kind of giving some control over what's happening up top. But for the most part, I just kind of want it to be a fun thing that happens while you're frantically just trying to summon more monsters.
Yeah, that works for me. Like, when I was thinking like, oh, I can't see anything, I'm like, is that really a problem? I don't know.
Yeah, because you can't control anything. I feel like it's not exactly a game breaker.
I mean, I suppose there's like status indicators. Like I could maybe visually things could pop down on the screen or flash to sort of get me to peek up just to get a quick status update. But I'm perfectly happy with a lot of that happening without my, having to see it.
Yeah, I do want to have some kind of indicator, like a little flash when the player gets hit, so you know that you need to like either step it up or use some like limited abilities.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about having like periodic flashes on the battle just to show like where exactly the line is where the monsters are bumping up against each other, so you know whether or not to kind of push forward or do something, just so you have a better idea of where that battle line is. But for the most part, it's just kind of frantic right now, and I like those kinds of games where it's just like frantically just trying to do stuff. Zach, to answer your question, there's no real benefit of grabbing larger groups right now. However, I would like that to be a part of the game where you can maybe capture, like get a bonus for getting a bigger group.
I'm definitely motivated to go for a bigger group. And even knowing now that it has me no benefit, I'm still going to keep doing it. So that's a strong like mechanical motivation there. So I think you're in good shape to whatever you add to it will be welcomed by players.
Yeah, currently my plan is that by creating large groups, you get magic or mana or whatever, and that will give you the opportunity to cast spells through like having large groups captured. So I just haven't.
And this mana would be like in addition to the guys you summon.
Yeah.
Will you talk about the economy of extra spaces?
Yeah. What's up?
Some of them are more expensive than others. How did you decide to do that?
Because if you just go horizontally outward, it's not very valuable. You have to kind of get a big block of both horizontal and vertical.
So is everything in the top row 1 coin, everything in the second row 2 coins, or is it more
correct,
nuanced?
and that goes down all the way down to 7 coins at the bottom. And that's also because there's no other use for coins right now, so I just wanted kind of a place to dump that kind of stuff as you play.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I was thinking that maybe you could use coins to purchase upgrades or some other ability. I have thoughts on how to maybe unlock extra monsters that you can summon. Again, like I said, this game is not very deep right now.
No.
Where like it's just zombies and skeletons, and they just kind of bump up against each other until somebody wins, which isn't super exciting in the long run. But I like that the gameplay loop is at least engaging when it comes to just kind of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it looks like you've gotten better at figuring out how to kind of match large groups.
It's really satisfying. Like, I don't care what my score is. I'm not interested in whether the zombies are going to get me. I am just really enjoying this sort of visceral feeling of like finding that. And it's not like it's I don't want it to be any harder or more puzzly. I'm just really enjoying it as kind of a idle experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really want this game to be like, you know, super hardcore difficult. I like the idea of this being a casual game if you want to play it that way, and if you want it to be a more difficult experience. I have those game modifiers that change things around a little right now.
Yeah.
So, follow-up question that isn't really a follow-up at all. You said you made this as part of Ludum Dare.
Yes.
Can I ask which one it was?
It was this last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, the theme was Harvest.
Okay. Was it like Ludum Dare 157?
52, I think it was this one. But yeah, I had this idea kind of sitting around in a folder for a very long time, and when the theme came around that it was Harvest, I was like, oh, you kind of harvest a graveyard for zombies. I was like, why not? And yeah, it turned out really cool. Like, this version that you're playing right now, it has a couple more iterations on it than the original one that I released, but I think that it, you know, the original game that was released was pretty good too. But a lot of the feedback that I got from the reviews on that are very similar to what you guys were talking about, where it's like, you know, you can't really see what's going on up top, and the controls are a little wonky to get used to right away.
Yeah, especially when it's not, you know, it's not well tutorialized because it's a Ludum Dare game.
Yeah, exactly.
So for anybody watching who doesn't know, I'm gonna make Lane describe what Ludum Dare is.
So Ludum Dare is one of the biggest game jam events out there, and what sort of makes Ludum Dare special is that it has a extremely nicely put together competitive aspect, where they have this great system where when you register on the site and when you submit your game there, you can go out and review and comment on other people's games, and the more you review and comment on other people's games, the more attention the website pushes toward your game. So it's very easy and very satisfying, even if you're not feeling terribly competitive. If you make a game in Ludum Dare, if you review a bunch of other people's games, you will get a bunch of feedback on your game, which is really special for a game jam, because oftentimes the feeling that I have when I do like a global game jam is I have a great time, but then the game might as well get thrown in the trash because nobody really looks at it afterwards. And Ludum Dare has that like community aspect afterwards, and it has a competition, and sometimes you'll do well in a couple categories, and it's a lot of fun. I did want to ask, Ben, where do you get this art style from? This is beautiful.
So I drew the pixel art myself during the challenge. However, the palette was stolen from Loop Hero.
Oh, okay.
Stolen might be a strong word for an art palette, but I really love the colors that they used in Loop Hero, and I wanted to give it a try. Most of my pixel art has been made through, I think it's the ZX color spectrum, which is like very harsh kind of neon-y colors, like the very bright reds and yellows and blues and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to try actually putting in a little bit more subtle coloring rather than just kind of blasting with with the big colors. But yeah, like this is a new experience for me when it comes to pixel art, especially coloring pixel art. So it's been fun and challenging, but mostly fun.
Let me ask you, do you envision, like, when it comes to the the connection between the board and what's going up there on up at the top. Do you want to cater to folks who are interested in you know, tactically timing when they deploy stuff at the bottom in order to help it like enhance the battle up at the top? Or do you think that being able to like do what Mark is doing and just having a idle experience, not having to care too much about what's going on top? Do you really care where the game ends up between those two?
Honestly, I'm kind of going both ways on that. When it comes to maybe, hey, good job, you won. When it comes to maybe some, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what was the condition that I met to make me win?
The health for the enemy was at the top left. I don't really have good like health bars or anything yet.
Oh, sure, that's fine. Yeah. It is interesting. I kind of assume a game like this would be endless. I just sort of made that assumption. But having a goal to reach for would let you introduce more strategic elements in terms of like how you get there. So I think that's a cool choice. Yeah.
It's all up in the air right now. Like people have definitely suggested like an endless mode where it's essentially just escalation until you lose, which I think would be neat too. But I'm sorry, I forgot your other question.
Oh, the question that I had was just, do you want people to care about the battle up at the top, and like for example, like timing when they add certain types of troops up to the top, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so for like skeletons and zombies and just kind of the mincemeat troops or whatever you want to call it, like I don't really care if you deploy those at certain times, but I think that any kind of stronger troop would probably be something that you would manually deploy because they would be more expensive to deploy.
Gotcha.
So like maybe if you I was thinking that if you connect enough bones together, like they would be replaced with skulls, kind of like with coins are with dirt. So you would have skull tiles on your board, which would allow you to eventually summon like maybe skeleton archers or golems or something like that essentially are more powerful but are more expensive because maybe they cost coins to deploy or something. So
Gotcha.
they would be manual in that way because you don't want to be saving up for a tile unlock and then accidentally connect skulls together and lose all your coins because you deployed a bunch of skeletons.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking skeleton skulls, and then you deploy one of like a giant skull with flaming eyes.
I think that if you get enough of these, I think if you get enough of these pizza rolls, it should turn into a whole pizza.
It's supposed to be flesh for zombies, but you know you only have so many colors and pixels to work with. I might go back and try to fix that up at some point, but again, it's game jam art. You do what you can.
Yeah.
I agree though. I was thinking that maybe you could because I was thinking like flesh could turn into blood, and then you could like summon vampires or something with that, and like you have a lot of themes that you can work with in this kind of game, which I think will be pretty exciting to mess with in the future.
Oh, I'm so excited to see different sorts of like mechanics in the units. There are so many like auto battlers out there that take advantage of like different types of units. For example, if the skeletons were ranged, if they were like bone archers, then naturally you would care about, I want to do these guys after those guys, or when I have a bunch of zombies as like tanks in front of them. So I'm curious about how deep you'll go in that direction.
For the moment, I'm thinking just to keep it simple, but I really do want to add depth to this game because I think that this game is capable of supporting that depth. For the moment, I like I keep saying, I know that it's fairly shallow when it comes to the gameplay, but I think that there's a lot that could be done with this. Aside from just the units, like you can like purchase upgrades, or you can you can do a lot of things to maybe. I see that you turned on like the delay mode for the tiles refilling the grid. Like maybe you can purchase an upgrade that reduces that delay in the future and stuff like that too, where you can like mechanically change how the board works. I was also, I think Lane, you suggested adding like power tiles for summons, And I don't have it in this version of the game, but I do have it in a build that I want to push out at some point, where essentially randomly, like one every 100 tiles, they're glowing, and then they give you like 10 of that resource instead of just one. So you could also affect the frequency at which those appear, which would also give you an advantage, because like I said, right now this is just a game of attrition. You basically just do as best as you can until you win or lose, and there's very little strategy involved. And I would really like to add more strategy to the game, whether or not that's like building a certain base type where you're like focused on skeletons and swarming, or you want to like focus on the big powerful creatures, anything like that. Or you could also take it where it would require less material to summon something, where like right now I think it takes like 4 bones to summon a skeleton. What if it took 2? That would drastically change the way that the battlefield looked, but you would maybe have to like spec into that while you're playing, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities for really cool like gameplay spaces.
And of course, the level that you're on, or the enemy necromancer that you're dueling with, could inform those decisions a lot. Like if the other guy uses like your Dale's big skeletons with laser eyes that do AOE damage, maybe then you don't want to focus on summoning as many little guys as you can. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's a lot of really cool space for adding personality to this type of game, and I'm excited to keep looking into it.
The other thing I was going to mention is that it looks like Carlo is back in the chat, so if he wants to retry Parsec outside of his shed,
I would like
just
to
let
try
us
it outside
know.
of my shed.
I'm sorry, I'm too involved now. I can't give it up.
Ugh, you missed your chance. He's having too much fun.
Yeah, let me just stop this now so I don't. There we go.
Yeah, there's a pause button up top. You're able to Slim
All
in
right.
chat. Yeah, I completely agree that the sound design is something that I really want to dive into more, and creating those kind of increasing intensity boots as you make a bigger and bigger combo is definitely something I want to put in, because I think that that game feel and like the juice for that kind of game stuff is really, really valuable. Don't check everything if you're going to let somebody else play. No, I have a feeling if you turn on
it's in
all
his
the
hands
modifiers,
now.
the game
It's up to him.
Yeah, the game
Yeah,
is
I'm in-
basically impossible if you turn on all the
Alright,
modifiers.
I'll
I
just-
would keep it just at normal.
All right, okay, I'll do normal.
I will say the refill delay didn't feel like it was adding a challenge. It was just a frustration. So I don't know
It's
that I like that.
amazing. It's magical. I strongly disagree. I think it really, really makes you appreciate having those extra columns. I think that, it adds so much to that.
Yeah, I think that the delay is valuable, more so than the other option that's in there where you have like a limited number of moves and then those refill over time, because the delay rewards having a bigger grid, and it also rewards actually it punishes making lots and lots of tiny moves in lieu of like one big move. And I really like the idea of like focusing on getting a bunch of like collecting a bunch at the same time.
Right, and I totally agree with all of those from like a game design document perspective. But playing it, especially as you come in from the perspective of, and I mean, this is not necessarily part of your design exactly, but I started out with no delay, and I added delay to make it harder, rather than a faster speed being a reward. So like presentationally, like it just doesn't feel good to actually play. I'm with you on the sort of designy reasoning for it, but I don't think that comes through.
That's a fair point. I also think that if this is something where you do have unlocks and other things like that, it would be valuable to start with a disadvantage, and then you can purchase an unlock to essentially remove that delay or make it so short where it's like not as impactful on the gameplay. But that's more like roguelike elements, which I don't know how deep I want to get into that. I'm not really sure yet.
And your trick there is also playing at it at the other angle by making paying to make the game easier will eventually make the game less engaging over time.
Possibly, yeah.
But I mean, that's all the elements are mixed together to give you the ultimate feel of that. But it's a tricky balance to strike.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I have those as toggleable right now, because I want to just test a bunch of ways how the game feels.
Yeah.
And if they don't work, kind of like the match limit that I have on there, it was a good 2 hours to implement or whatever, and then I realized it didn't work, and now I can just delete it and it'll be fine.
The philosophy behind the match limit, it seems to me, is kind of cool because it's like asking you to make bigger matches.
Yes.
But
yeah,
I would prefer that big matches were rewarded by. So the first time you drag 3 bones, it takes 4 bones to make a skeleton.
Yes.
Maybe after that it could be the 7th bone would then make another skeleton. So that you would reward it in sort of a like they just get stronger style.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having rewards for making large matches is something that's pretty integral to these kinds of games, and I definitely want to focus on that a little bit more too. But I just haven't programmed anything like that in yet. But I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, well, just to like talk for a sec, just because I'm sort of exploring this myself. I haven't played a lot of match games, but it seems to me that like one of the reasons why that's so fun and so important is it adds a lot of tension. Like it means that you as a player, you're asking, do I want to take advantage of this medium-sized match I have right now, or do I want to keep cooking it and making these less productive matches in the meantime to build up that big one, so that when I get the huge explosion, I'll have a big power surge, if I live that long. So I could just imagine it feeling like a lot more exciting having those in.
Yeah, absolutely, and just having the ability to strategize a little bit more instead of just flailing around and trying to just do the best you can. I like the idea that Trevor has in chat, where like the size and the power of the skeletons could get more.
Oh, true.
Yeah. That could be a really interesting way of doing it too, where it's not like the number of skeletons you get, it's the quality of skeletons that you get. That would be really interesting, and it would also make the top a little bit more fun to watch, because suddenly you have like these massive skeletons lumbering around instead of just the little guys, even though they're still the same pixels.
I think you can go further than that. I think even in that the enemies that come your way should be contextual. So like doing a lot of little matches, it's like a bunch of ads, right? When the enemies you're throwing back at the enemy, but that's only effective against a certain type of enemy. So it would requiring the player to pay attention to what's going on top would make sense if what goes on top is relevant to the choices you make. You know what I'm saying? So like you want to do a big long match to spawn a big boy, but like that big boy isn't effective against a certain type of enemy, so it's not always the right choice to make.
Yes, cool.
I would say that you have to unlock tiles if you want to beat hard mode, because you get overwhelmed pretty easily, since you can't like physically match stuff. Yeah, you got to unlock those tiles.
I missed that.
Oh, you must have missed that when you were moving out of your
shed.
Yeah. Good point. Okay.
So I wanted to add a couple things. One about if you were going to make bigger skeletons, maybe you just make skeletons with more arms, like you're adding more bones.
That would require extra art.
I know,
Yes.
and like your art is so tiny there, but I just thought it was funny. Like imagine a skeleton, and then imagine a skeleton with extra arms and extra legs, and an extra skull on top.
That is a really good idea. I do have it down, but that is a lot of art, and I'm very lazy.
I get that. It's fun. I'm just gonna say it out loud and then make everybody imagine it in their heads who's watching. And then I also wanted to have Lane read some of the comments because I thought they might be helpful.
There's some great ideas in there.
Yeah, you can tell that Ben is lazy because he has delighted us with not 1 or 2, but 3 different games in the last year. Okay, let's see. Okay, this I think is big. Like, yes, we got Trevor's comment here. Scale of skeletons could change when you get a large chain. May look cool up there having some bigger boys. Yeah. And then Scott Lemke says, what about some sort of timeout on monster types? It takes 4 to make a skeleton or a skelly, then 5, then 6, etc. However, the numbers go back down after a short time. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea either, just to promote diversity in what you're doing. But I think a lot of that comes from just the tiles that are being spawned. You're kind of at the whim of the randomizer for that, which is a little bit of a pain. But I'm trying to think of ways that you can like weight the tiles that are coming in and stuff like that too. So kind of stacking the deck. Where like if you want to have like a skeleton focused build, you maybe get an upgrade, or you purchase an upgrade where you get less flesh for zombies and you get more bones, and that allows you to focus more on like one type of thing.
He's also mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
well, he's also mentioned the game Typomagia as one that has a bunch of ideas that are kind of similar to what you're doing.
Yeah, I put that down to research. Looking forward to checking that out.
Wonderful. So can you talk to us a little bit, Ben, about, you've mentioned a couple things that sort of lead me to think that there might be some sort of upgrades in this game. Now, are you thinking about upgrades like within a match, or are you thinking about that there would be some sort of like meta structure connecting different matches?
I am not sure yet. Initially this game is just gonna be one match, but I wouldn't mind having like a campaign mode of some kind where over time you kind of upgrade your graveyard to allow like blood to spawn or skulls to spawn in your grid, which allows you to get more potent monsters out on the battlefield. At the moment, I think I'm just going to keep it as like buttons that appear on the side where you have to pay X coins to unlock blood or, skulls or whatever. But at some point in the future, it might be something where it has more roguelike campaign elements where like you win a battle and you have the option of either unlocking this or getting more efficient like zombies or something. So
you always come on here and get my wheels turning. Like one thing I was kind of picturing was, like what if you could go into like these games, go into matches with like 4 or 5 slots that you would choose for like different types of tiles that would appear, and those would give you access to your different creations.
Yeah, I was thinking about, or I was actually working yesterday on adding another currency called stone, where basically kind of like dirt turns into coins. You could match headstones and get like bricks. And then that would allow you to build structures that give you those kind of upgrades. But I do like the idea of, I hate to say it, like a deck building element, where essentially what you're doing is you're choosing from a deck of options, and you're essentially customizing your build through that. And then of course you could unlock those cards via just playing the game. Yeah, like there's a lot of design space here, which makes me very excited about this.
Huge.
Lane, when you were suggesting letting the player choose which gems are part of the set that fall in, that there's a natural choice for the player to make, which is the more you choose, the more abilities are available to you, but the harder it is to make matches, or the slower it will be to make big matches. So that's a natural push and pull that I really, really like. So you can play like I'm thinking almost like Magic the Gathering. You can have an all black deck or whatever, and that's efficient, but it's limited, right? So I mean, maybe that's not the best example to do, but it's what I thought of. So having something like that would be really, really, would give the player a lot of choices in terms of how they approach a challenge, and it would be really, something like that would be really effective in a campaign mode. So I think that's a good if you're thinking in that direction already. Like I think all of these things will be leveraged in a mode like that.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Benjamin, it's not that it's a bad thing for deck building or anything. It's just one of those tropes that every game has like a roguelike deck building element, and it's not a bad thing. There's a reason why it's popular, but it's also one of those things where it's like I don't want to just make another one of those,
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing.
That design space has barely begun to be explored.
Yeah.
Somebody likes deck builders. I was gonna say if you should call them spells, because then it's like the spell to conjure mostly bones, or the spell to conjure a bunch of flesh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up a couple things. Okay, we have about 10 minutes slotted out for this game.
I'm so glad you're keeping track of that, Dale.
Oh, usually I just ask you where we are and make you do it. So I wanted to introduce the fact that we can have playtesters from around, or playtesters who are already on the line who have games coming up to play the next game, which is another, I guess we're calling him Benjamin, but Beb on the thing, whose name is also Ben. Do you want to give a short introduction to that and what you would need to play, a mouse, a keyboard, a gamepad, etc.?
Yeah, you just need a mouse, right click and left click.
Oh, a mouse with 2 buttons.
A mouse with 2 buttons, that is a requirement.
Okay.
No Apple mice here.
It is a 4X strategy game. It's kind of like Polytopia, if anybody's ever heard about that. You're commanding a tribe and trying to destroy your opponent's tribe.
I mean, honestly, this sounds like a lane kind of game to me.
It is a lame kind of game.
Well,
I'm
before
down.
we
I
get there,
enjoyed
do we have any other takers for this game before we say goodnight to it? Dale, you want to try?
I can try. Sure.
Yeah.
Why don't
Okay.
I try for the next 7 minutes? And then the other thing I was going to mention is this is a Ludum Dare game, and so that is a game jam where people get together and make a game in a short amount of time. For Ludum Dare, how long is that?
This game was initially made in 48 hours.
Okay. And
Was
then
this a
there's
combo game, Ben?
Yes.
Oh, badass. Cool.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on that. And I'm like happy that I was able to get like the music and the sound and everything else in there because I have those skill sets. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this game came out considering the short amount of time that I had to do it. And I'm also very thankful that I had a lot of these libraries available already for me to essentially just kind of drop in and then just run with it. Like the grid system here is the same grid that I used in Death Drives a Bus and Pandemonium and pretty much everything else. So I was able to just kind of drop that whole class into this game and just get it to work right away, which was very useful for getting some of this stuff going.
So what I'm hearing is everybody should get a good grid system in their portfolio.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to mention there is another game jam coming up that this organization called IGDA is sponsoring. I was wondering if somebody wanted to give a little information about that.
Yeah, I can. So Global Game Jam's coming up for our site will be February 3rd to 5th, I believe. That's the Friday to Sunday. And it'll be held. We're doing a hybrid event this year. So after we're doing it online only the past couple of years because of the pandemic, and we're doing hybrid this year. And no, the pandemic's not over, but we're feeling comfortable now this year to do an in-person site, and that's going to be at the Noble Robot office, which is where I am right now. And the limit on that is 30 participants, and we already have, I believe, 18 people signed up. So there's only 12 slots left. So sign up for that. If those are sold out, or you'd rather be online, we're going to be also using the Amber Waves of Games. They're a Midwest organization. We're partnering with them again this year to host the online portion of the jam on their Discord server, which is set up specifically to run game jams. So the folks here at Noble Robot will be working live in person, but also can partner with the folks on the Discord to do hybrid teams if they like. And we're going to be doing all our communication with everybody through that Discord. So even though there's only 30 people can join us here, as many as are able can actually participate in our site officially. The information on all of that is at ggj2023.eventbrite.com. We snagged that short URL. That's where you can see all the information on both the online and the in-person site. And I believe that's the whole spiel, unless I missed something.
Oh, that sounds about right. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to call out for the people who are listening to this. Trevor says, I could see this game having a multiplayer mode, 1v1 skelly battle going on. I think that sounds
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah.
It would be very fun. I have no idea how to do multiplayer, which isn't a reason for me to not do it. But I
From
always
the
know
little-
that that's yeah.
From the
but-
little I know about multiplayer, I feel like what I'm seeing here would be about the easiest sort of multiplayer going on, because there would just be one tiny input that goes between the games, basically. Just what Matt just made.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, aside
yeah.
from like cheating prevention and stuff, which for a
Yeah.
game like this, I don't really feel like it would be like a tournament game,
yeah.
but maybe someday.
You know, it's really funny. This highlights a fatal flaw that computers have, which is that you can't have two mice on a PC.
Yeah.
Controlling two cursors. It's like a fundamental, like, operating system limitation that that's just completely impossible. I feel like so many multiplayer games could, like, couch style multiplayer games could be done if you could just plug in a second mouse and get a second cursor. Like, it'd be unlock so many opportunities. Like, you could do this with two gamepads, but then you'd need to do gamepad controls, which aren't as easy to do.
Yeah.
It just seems so silly you can't do two mice. This is just my little rant.
Yeah, I can add game control, like gamepad support, but I don't
Yeah.
feel like the game would play very well
I agree.
with that support, because then you have
Yeah.
to like click left, right, left, down, diagonal, whatever, to actually like get to the matches that you want to get, and I feel like it would be very difficult in the long run. However, yeah, I would love some kind of multiplayer support for that. And you're right, where it's essentially just like telling the computer, hey, spawn this zombie over there, and that would be pretty much it.
Yeah.
Because like everything else is just handled, but someday maybe.
Dale, remember to unlock the extra tiles on the edges.
Okay.
I just want to say, Scott does point out, I've actually seen these as well. He says that there are multi-mouse, just not using regular mouse APIs. There are a handful of games that support multi-mouse.
Yeah.
I'll have
Do you
to
need
look
special
into it,
hardware
yeah.
for it, or
Hey,
can you actually
maybe more
address
of
each one individually?
I haven't actually got it set up all the way. I've just seen other people.
I would
doing it.
love to be proven wrong about this, because there's so many, especially JM games. There's so many
So many.
opportunities for interesting controls. I always remember playing like Marshmallow Duel in high school, which was you played on a single keyboard, but you had WASD and then IJKL for two players, and that's just a very natural cheap multiplayer. And it just seems crazy that you can't do that with mouse games.
I have a beef with that statement, Mark.
Yeah?
Why did we never play this marshmallow game?
Did we never play it? I don't know. I'm sure we did.
No. I'm pretty sure we didn't.
Yeah. Nobody else am I too old? Has no one else heard of Marshmallow Duel?
It doesn't ring a bell for me, but that doesn't really say much.
It's like a platform fighter, but this is before Smash Brothers, so it looks like a platform fighter, but doesn't play exactly like one. The goal is to knock. It looks a little bit like Joust, actually. You knock the other player into the soup of marshmallow. Very DOS style graphics.
Marshmallow soup, huh?
Yeah, it's one of those games that exists without anyone making any real choices about, like, you know what I mean? It's like there was no marketer who took a look at it. Like, it's just a bunch of randomness.
Yeah, I'll have to look into multi-mouse support, because I think that would definitely be a good opportunity for creating some kind of multiplayer. Although,
Yeah,
it
I mean,
would,
if it's
you know,
easy enough to implement.
Yeah, multiplayer in general will still be a little bit of effort, but I think that it would be a lot of fun to have a game like this be multiplayer.
A lot of times you could say, oh, this could use a multiplayer mode, and you can imagine it, but it's like not worth the effort. I think this seems very natural for a multiplayer mode. I think it's probably worth the trouble.
Yeah.
Because the mechanics are already designed with that in mind, in a sense. You have to balance things, but.
Yeah, well, balance and make it an MMO. No, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there would definitely be some things that have to be changed in the game just to make it work. But I agree that that it would be a lot of fun to have like a couch combat kind of game, or even controller support wouldn't be that bad, but it would definitely be an effort, but not an
I'm
impossible.
brainstorming controller support. Like use a sort of a D-pad style click select. I mean, you can use a joystick for it, but then once you select one, then the joystick becomes kind of like a cursor to draw your pattern. That might be kind of fluid.
Yeah, there's options there. I just
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
kind of dig into it more. But
Well,
I again, like with all of this, like I want to make the game functional and fun before I dive into all of like the minutia of extra
Yeah.
features and depth for the game, because I generally have an idea and then get sidetracked with all this random depth for the game, and then I realize the game's not fun. And then so I want to make sure that I like make the game fun first, and then I can do all the other stuff to make it like more fun and more playable, aside from like a 5-minute diversion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I definitely think the core is there. It's fun. Even the parts that are like kind of not working all the way or aren't satisfying all the way are not an impediment to the core loop, which is addictive and very charming. Unlocking tiles on the edges feels really satisfying. So I think you got to like you're already there that the core works, and you're on your way to a lot of the other pieces. So I don't know how much more you have to do before you could start thinking about crazy stuff, which is a weird thing for me to say. But I'm really bullish on this game. I think it's fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you move forward with it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Like I intend on pushing updates out on itch whenever I have a stable build, and really I want to just cram more like different like play mode modifiers in there and just see what people like, which ones resonate with people.
Yeah.
And then I think that that's a good way to test features and other stuff like that without having to be like, okay, well now you have to play the game this way. And it's like, well, no, I would rather have people like try a bunch of stuff and see how it sounds or feels rather. But
well, I lost the game, which means it's time to switch games. Ben is up next, and while Mark loads that up, maybe Elaine wants to fill us in on any of the chat that would be helpful to talk about.
Yeah, we have the rankest of hypocrisy. The man who made a series of videos called "Don't Make an MMO" is coming in with an extremely hypocritical suggestion. We'll just ignore that, pretend it didn't happen. Charles McGregor is in the house saying that we have "Oh snap!" Is that the Ben_Burns? And that reminds me that our two guests are Bub B-U-B and B-E-B is coming up next. So let's go ahead and introduce our next guy.
Ben_.
Yeah, Bub.
Bub?
Well, from Bub to Beb. Beb, why don't you?
The weird thing is my middle name is actually E, so my initials are BEB, which really kind of tripped me out when I saw the name.
Like everywhere I go, there's somebody else named Ben. It's not that common of a name, but for some reason, like
among game designers. All right.
And who's going to be playtesting this one?
2 people, because it's a multiplayer game.
Ooh, who are the 2 people? Lane, are you one of them?
Now, Ben, and I'm talking about Beb. Can you tell us, does this have functional multiplayer, or is this a game that should be played hot seat?
local multiplayer only.
Perfect. All right, I'm gonna Actually, no. I guess that would mean Mark versus Dale, or somebody could parsec in. And
Yeah, we can get 2. We can get 2 people in. I mean, at some point we'll start stressing the throughput, but we can try it. But I can always be player 2 as well.
Yeah, why don't you be player 2, and then if there's any takers, make.
Well, Dale, I would say Dale, you're already connected, and Lane, you haven't had a chance yet. So let's try the 2 of you first before we fall back on me again.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was a big fan of the previous game, and this game has. I mean, we've seen some really interesting stories with games, people coming back with additions to their game, and Josh is going to be one of those later tonight. But this is maybe the biggest change I've ever seen. Like, this is a totally different game. So, Ben, can you talk to us about like the game that you showed before was sort of a hunting survival game, and you have revolutionized this. So, what is this now?
Yeah, I haven't worked on my elevator pitch too much yet, but it has changed a lot since the last time. I took some of the feedback that you guys had, but also just spent more time kind of
Thinking
fleshing
about
it
it.
out into the original idea that I had.
Right.
So I've given you both control over the mouse, so don't fight. Or do,
can't-
whatever.
I can't help it. Okay, I'm gonna press multiplayer.
Great.
I'm gonna press new game. Pass and play. Okay, that seems good. Start. Start.
Can you not click it?
Or it's
I will
not
try.
working.
Uh-oh. We got one of them no reference errors.
Uh-oh.
Now,
I didn't
saw
see this
that.
when I was
saw one of
testing
those
earlier.
early. Yeah, and it
Let's
was
take a peek at it.
benign when I saw it. Yeah.
I'm like trying to debug here, but that's a waste of my time. All right, let's
You could-
give it a good, because sometimes when you get one of those errors, it's fine, nothing, no problem, and sometimes it like prevents future functions from happening. So let's give it another try here. Stop moving the mouse, folks. There
You
we
have to close and reopen.
go. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a try now.
All right. Who's moving the mouse? Is it me?
Not me.
It's not me.
Okay, it is me. I'm clicking multiplayer. I'm clicking new game. I'm clicking start because that looks
There
pretty
we
good.
go.
Oh, it worked. Okay. Player one. I am gonna pick red. Fire Tribe. Ooh, I'm good at
Spearing.
spearing.
I didn't know
Choosing
whether
it.
there were starting skills. Cool. I'm gonna pick blue. By the way, Dale, you are under no circumstances going to hit space or enter. I found out that those restart the level. Air Tribe, trekking. I get to trek and you can't.
I know. But
Well, lucky
you'll be
lucky
real
for us, I
sad
have
when
not
I spear you.
I have not given either of you keyboard control, so you can't accidentally
Okay.
press those buttons, thankfully.
Okay,
Oh goodness, thank you.
Is it my turn? Oh, that's
I believe
my
it is
house.
my turn. So I think I'm the blue people. You are the red people.
Yep.
Now, okay, so it looks like I could make dudes. I didn't know that. I played this like for about 15 minutes before. I'm gonna try making a dude.
Well, if I lose, this is why.
I'm gonna try making a dude. Oh, I made a dude. Okay, can I move the dude? Ooh. Can I punch this squirrel? No. Okay. Wow. Okay. So if I move next to the squirrel, I wish I had a spear. This sucks. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm not gonna get that squirrel. One thing that I know that you haven't seen yet, Dale, is that you can press this to see your like different upgrades for your people.
Okay.
What I should have done turn one is probably unlock the spear because it gives me a ranged attack. So I could actually hit this squirrel. But maybe I'll do that next turn. Anyway, I will press this check to end my turn.
Okay. And now it's my turn. I am now in the center of the thing. I wasn't paying attention to most of that. So I'm gonna go
Fair.
this way. And then this way again. Because I want these. Oh, do I get to go? No, I don't get to go. What's this thing?
It's a very satisfying no, you can't do that sound.
I can't hear it, so.
Yeah, I can't hear that either. But
But I'm okay. Okay.
I'm sorry if I took the mouse.
Answer.
Is it still Dale's turn? I think it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Okay. I think I have to end my turn because I'm stuck, but I'm really looking forward to eating some what I presume are apples.
You can also click on your little tower there to make dudes. Now, I don't know how
Okay.
useful that is, but it looks like I'm going to take my little shield boy here. And I'm going to click on these apples, and
Nice.
num, 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 I've gained a bunch of resources.
Good
So I'm going to
job.
go over here. I'm going to spend my resources on this beautiful spearing.
Yeah.
Pay that. And that has made everything else more expensive. So there's a nice, like, interesting, like, resource limiting system. I'm going to go here. I'm going to spend my other energy to chuck a spear at the squirrel. Take that,
Oh, look
nature.
at that tiny meat.
I'm going to look at this and just see 6, 3. Now, this 6, it's unfortunate. I see what you're trying to do. This is so few pixels. I can barely tell it's a 6.
It's a very B6.
Yeah.
Very B6.
I'm gonna end my turn, though.
Okay. I am going to click my dude. I'm going to go get these apples. Yum, 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 yum. I'm going to click on my tower. Nope, that's not clicking. Oh, there we go. And I am going to make a dude.
Real quick feedback there. Dale clicked the tower, but the actual mouse target is the tile the tower is on. And I think that could be either visually you either. I'm thinking of a game like Civilization where it has depth, but they try not. You still try to mostly keep things within the tile, or you just increase the mouse target to include the buildings, depending on if that would interfere with other things.
Can I do this, Mark?
That's a good point.
It seems like you can't. It might be that you can only have one 3 dude on.
Okay.
Oh, no, I guess
If I
that's just
don't-
the selector.
Do I not have enough resources?
Well, you have 18.
You
If that's what that means,
Oh.
then you should have enough.
Oh yeah, it says 18.
You can do one per turn. You need to select the unit and then click the castle afterward.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Oh,
not
there you
fully
go.
intuitive, but clear enough for these
Yeah.
purposes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
not the.
take a sandal and I'm gonna
There you
go get these apples. Yum 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 yum.
How do you like them apples, Dale?
I like them a lot because I ate them all up. Yum yum.
I feel
yum,
like
yum,
you definitely need to have, because both of you have done it now, you need to have a audio clip when you do eat them, someone going yum 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 yum.
Oh, by the way, I've noticed, Dale, one thing I should warn you about. Now, I don't see them on your side, but I do see them on mine. These little yellow triangles, spikes or whatever,
Oh.
like those will hurt you when you step on them. So watch out for that.
They're
Okay.
supposed to be mushrooms, poisonous mushrooms.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yep. You
Okay.
can get a skill to turn those into points instead of negative health
Oh, okay.
or
Okay.
resources.
I was thinking maybe it
Oh,
was a matter of like, I'll take the poison in exchange for what else is on the tile. But it's really just a matter of you don't want to touch that tile until it's safe.
Ooh, fungi
Ooh.
give resources. Okay, interesting. What are
It-
some of
it
these
is
other options? Netting.
It's a trade-off. You can trade resources for health. Unless you get that skill, then you
Mhm.
just get resources without the downside.
Okay. I'm gonna throw a spear at you, and one thing I noticed is that animals don't care if you spear them, so I'm just gonna do it again. Okay.
They probably should. I thought about that the other day.
Maybe. At the same time, this sheep just survived 2 hits with a spear. It's badass. All right.
It's a
I'm
thick
gonna
hope.
I'm gonna make another person. Now I don't know the difference between these people. I think this was a 6, so I'm gonna try making a 3. Excuse me, sir?
You have to
Sir?
click on the castle.
What?
Yeah.
Oh!
Not intuitive.
Oh, thank you.
Not intuitive.
Okay.
It's
Well,
actually
and
this
this
is
person has-
proof that it's not intuitive because Ben just described it.
Oh my goodness, I'm so dumb. Okay, this person has 2 energy. This is OP. I can get that for 3? No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a little factory. Now, do people have any
Oh.
sort of like cost over time? Is there any sort of upkeep for cost for folks?
Nope.
Okay. Oh, but I have apparently run into some sort of limit, maybe only 1 a turn or something. I don't know.
1 per turn. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a satisfying turn. Let's take a look at other stuff I can get. Ooh, what are you? 3 damage? That's cool. And what are you? Gain resources equal to the damage. Okay, that sounds fun. I might get that later. All right, let's back to you, Dale.
Okay. I'm gonna take this dude and I'm gonna move here. Yum yum yum. All right, because that one's just a yum.
Yum. Yeah.
Go yum.
I wish I could see
That's-
where your mouse is,
And then
but
I'm gonna
alas,
take
whatever.
This
Dale, you got to
dude.
get the boots upgrade. You can
Oh,
afford
I
it right now.
need-
That lets
Okay.
you walk twice.
Oh, I need that. Okay.
Get
Okay.
trekking.
Pay 5. Yes, I want that. Thank you. Okay.
So what
Ooh,
might
bow
not
and
be
arrow, that's your
clear-
favorite, Dale.
It is my favorite, but I also have spearing, so I'm good right now. What's this thing?
A flute. Ooh.
Ooh,
You
that
lure
kinda
my
sounds-
dudes towards you? What the heck?
Pay 14.
That's a really interesting syntax
paying
there.
9. Okay.
Ludes toward you
That's
all
great.
That's
enemies.
with a short amount of words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the terrain matter at all, Beb? Like if I'm in the
Yep, yep, yep,
water,
yep.
do my dudes take more damage or anything like that?
So right now, the only effect that the terrain has is if you end your movement on water or mountains, which might not even be on this map, then you use all your energy that turn.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if Dale flutes my dudes into the water, that does not. I mean, it might cost me more to get them out, but
I don't think I even know the answer to that question.
we're doing science. Great.
I think it'll just, yeah, it won't. It'll only spend
Ooh.
1 energy. Pretty sure.
Oh man, cool.
Wait, can I punch this?
You've run out of turns for that
No
Okay.
energy.
that
Yeah.
dude.
Okay. How do you see what energy your dude has?
The blue.
I don't
Glow.
think you do.
Oh, it's
Below.
blue. So this guy has
Oh,
one.
it's that. Okay.
Okay. So
Yep.
I'm gonna go eat these
Nom
apples.
nom 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 nom.
Okay, and then I'm done.
Oh man, I remember thinking this with your previous game, for the previous version, and I still kind of feel it here. I feel like the terrain type should like mean something, or at least like these trees, you know, the
Yeah.
trees
Yeah.
could
Mhm.
like chop them down or something, but it's an expensive way to get resources. I don't know.
Yep. I agree. I think there will be eventually. They might just like produce different types of resources too. Maybe animals spawn there more frequently or something. I tried a couple different methods of like using different resources to traverse different types of terrain, and it just got confusing. Like it takes 2 energy to go over
No,
forest and mountain.
stop! Don't do it!
Sorry.
Don't do it, Dale, please. No. Okay. Oh
this
boy.
guy. I'm gonna punch.
It's
Oh,
not
this
your
might
turn,
be
Dale.
this might be me. I'm
Oh.
seeing. Oh.
Oh, that's what's going on. I thought it
Okay.
was my turn because I was just ready to go.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. No. That just makes sense. That just makes sense.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Yeah.
I
we're
stopped paying
gonna
attention.
we're gonna like put this person in the water. Splish splash. I'm taking a bath. All right. And then we're gonna. This thing can't quite hit that sheep, right? Okay. So we're gonna walk over here. 1 space. All right. Clicking the button. Dale's turn.
Hey, now it's my
I'm
turn.
nervous. I'm nervous. This
Now
is
can I
cool. Like
please punch the sheep? Because I really want to punch the sheep.
you wouldn't dare.
Yeah, I would.
Oh, that's some real Streets of Rage punching. That's great.
Yeah, these animations are really good, by the way, for how
Thank
simple these are. This is great.
Oh, and then I'm out of punching, so now I'm gonna spear this sheep.
That is a little
Is
bit
it true?
non-intuitive that if you have 2 action points, you can't spend both of them on 2 punches. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem very natural to me.
You
Yeah.
can. You can.
I think you can't. Well,
Oh,
Dale
okay.
Dale was only able to punch once, and then she had to spear
Um,
for her second action.
Why can't I move?
How
this
sure are
guy?
you about that, you guys? Because I was able to throw 2 spears in 1 turn, like one after another.
It might be the tile colors not updating. You might need to right click and then click again to show that you can do the same action again. There's a
Okay,
couple
so
bugs with that.
there's no design problem here. It's just either a UI problem or rather a UX problem that Dale didn't.
Probably.
Because yeah,
So
she was
I
trying to
can't
do it again.
do
It
that
did seem
guy.
like she'd be able to, but yeah, must not have clicked the tile or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I wanna spear
If you right click,
I'm out
it'll
of
cancel your selection and like refresh the what tiles you can use a command on. So you might need to do that every once in a while.
Now I'm out of actions. Okay. Seems like time to spend things. Like on another dude.
Uh-oh. Dale's making dudes.
You bet I'm making dudes.
Could afford any one of the dudes.
So we should talk quick, Ben, because you told me earlier, and I think this is the first time it's relevant. We're about to we might be starting a little tussle here. How do you win the game?
So right now, how it works that I'm not too sure about, but I wanted to test it is if you get your king on the opponent's castle, your king is the one with the cross on its head,
Okay. I'm done.
you win the game. Or if you kill your opponent's king, you win the game.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh. Oh, I have a king. Okay, good to know.
Okay, let me see some costs. Oh man, these are so expensive because you have to buy the prereqs for them. I see what you're doing here. Okay, meanwhile, can I hit
One other thing I'll mention that
you?
might not be clear is that the number of colors you get is what increases the cost of the
Ow!
skills. So you can
Not
go
cool.
go down one path, or you can go, you can go wide or you can go deep.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Oh, this is a really interesting situation because like the sheep is what I want, and I could get it this turn, but if I go for it, my person is just dead. My person is just goner. If you kill the opposing king, then does that mean, or like I'm assuming this is a king or like a liege, maybe mine's a queen. Do you lose? I'm
If
sorry, if
you
you kill them, do you win?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so if I like go and collect these little berries, and Dill is like, "Aha! I'm gonna attack you," that could be real bad. Is it possible to heal in any way?
There is a skill for that. It might be hidden on the
Wow,
map right now, but
how coy! How coy! Okay,
yeah.
ooh, yeah.
So
Okay,
is there a reason, like strategically, that you'd want to? It feels to me that if two players are really going at it and playing with optimal strategy, you basically just want to put your king as far away from the opposing forces as possible, and sacrifice whatever abilities that, because it looks like the king can do everything all the other characters can do. But I feel like it's not worth the risk ever. Or is
Yeah,
there
well,
some reason why you'd want to bring the king out?
yes, that was the thing I was trying to mitigate in the beginning. So
Mm.
I added the other condition where if you get your king on your opponent's castle, that's another win
Oh,
condition.
okay. It's not just any character; it's the king. Okay.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, that's what happened in the beginning. Is that you're just trying to kill the opponent's king, and then the king would just run off into the corner as far away as it can get.
Yeah. No, that's great. It
Right.
feels great because you might have some players want to play aggressively, some players want to play defensively, and then you have three different scenarios: two defensive players, two offensive players, or one of each, and each of those is interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. We're gonna
I
move
would
this
say I
person.
think the king should not be able to do anything but move. I mean, it's kind of a chess kind of notion of the
Ooh.
king is a powerful totem but a weak
Yep.
character. But I think it makes sense for this game too. Is just to have the king essentially defenseless or
Yeah.
offenseless, I guess.
Yeah.
So they always
I
have to
tried
travel
that.
with guards, you know.
Yeah, there were a lot of ideas I tried to take from chess as well.
Mhm.
That was one of them. The difference between 1 energy and 2 energy is massive.
Huge.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's one
Move
of the things
and shoot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like it was just, too vulnerable if it only had 1 movement, but I might go back to it. I'm not sure yet.
Well, I'm not suggesting you have it move like it moves in chess. I'm just saying that the king should not be able to fire a weapon.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Dill, what
So
does the
so that if you try to go for just the king alone, it's like it currently will take more than one opponent
Oh, that
player
doesn't.
usually to overwhelm it. But I
Oh.
think it would make sense that the king goes alone. It should be very easy to take the king out.
Well,
Yeah.
my king just speared a squirrel, so
Dill, would you mind checking something just for
Sure.
science? I was curious in your abilities. The lower right ability has me very intrigued. It looks like a bottle.
I
Could
know.
you
I
check
was
what that is?
hoping that you wouldn't miss that.
Oh, my. Well, yeah, if you would like
I
to
was
keep it a mystery, feel free, Dale. Feel free. But I was curious.
I was
Heal.
assuming it was a
Ooh,
yeah.
spicy. Okay. Okay.
Going back here. Okay. I can't walk all the way. Oh,
Oops, sorry, I moved the mouse. My apologies.
that's okay. I gotta go over here and then stare at those apples and wish I could eat them.
A classic
Are you
pastime.
are you doing that thing where you're leaving a path open for Lane as a trap?
Dale Wood.
Um,
Now, let me take a look at this. This is 10. and it's going to make everything else more expensive. And the most amount that I could get from it is from collecting these 3 mushrooms. So that seems super not worth, at least on this map. So
Agreed.
I am going to comfortably just mosey over here, punch you.
You
I
know,
should have
it could
moseyed
be
differently.
it could be that just passing through. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense thematically, but it could be that just passing through that tile will damage you. In which case, there would be an advantage to getting that skill, independent
Ah,
of collecting the resource.
That's interesting.
And that might be,
Yeah.
you may want to use that idea in another place, like have Bramble or something that damages characters, but a skill that lets you pass it. And then it would be worth making everything cost more, but you'd also want to strategize. I don't need to have this skill until a little later, or whatever.
Okay.
But I agree with you. The mushroom one just doesn't seem worth it ever. Just at the state of play here.
It could be on a very different map. I
Yeah,
have in fact
for sure.
seen some where there's way more mushrooms to spawn.
Mhm.
However, like one thing that I might want to suggest from the previous like the old version of this game is that one had things that respawn over time. I don't know if this one has that, but oh boy, if mushrooms were spawning like on a regular basis, maybe it would be much more valuable.
They
Yeah.
should be, yeah.
Yeah,
I just need
Okay.
to work on that stuff.
This is
Animals
neat,
will
right?
respawn, but not other resources yet. But that's the idea.
Oh, what if I do this? And then do this?
What are you trying to do, Joe?
I'm trying to move my king to eat my squirrel meat, but it's not highlighted.
Isn't it?
Oh, maybe that means it's highlighted, and I'm thinking it means it's not available.
Right.
Okay.
It's
Yum.
the little purple hex has a blending mode, so it's different colors on different terrain types. That might be a little confusing.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna.
Trenton Gray Oak, this is
Sure.
not a replay from last year. Get out of here with that misinformation, sir.
Okay, and then this. Oh, then okay. Now I need to go. Oh, 'cause I want
Yeah,
that.
we'll update the
I
title
want
when
that.
we're done tonight. That's my mistake.
I want that.
Yeah, I can't believe that somebody would come in here and try to call us out like that. Got him. You know what, Mark? It actually is January of 2022, and I'm just making a prediction that someone named Trenton Gray will say something real dumb in 2023.
Whoa.
I thought it was 2021 right now.
I actually signed something as like something 2021 this year, just by accident.
Okay, then I have this guy. Like I should move him.
Welcome to the stream, Trenton Gray Oak. You're welcome. You're welcome here. Glad to have you.
And then I am done.
Oh. Dale. Actually, I can't really take advantage of that super well. So, oh wait, my king only has 1 movement point. What is going on?
I lured him.
Oh, and that
it
costs
he
it.
moved.
and it cost
True.
my movement.
Yes.
Disgusting.
That's interesting.
Disgusting. I hate it. Whew.
I mean, but the
What a-
king's
what
got
a
that bow and
choice.
arrow,
Makes
so that
sense,
makes it
right?
still pretty dangerous.
What a choice. Wait, how did she lure it? Did she flute me?
She fluted you.
I floated
Oh no! Oh, Dale's.
Consider yourself fluted.
My goodness. Dale, what direction did you point the flute? Did you point it up or down?
You don't have to point the flute.
Dale,
you.
can I get your
Yeah.
answer, please?
I don't think I pointed it. I think you then click on your guy to make him flute.
This is making me very angry because I just want to make a highfalutin pun, but here we go. Dale, a
Oh,
question for you.
sorry. I pointed it up.
It's all dudes within range 3, and it
Mhm.
costs them movement. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Okay, we're gonna.
I was worrying it was a little underpowered, so
Oh,
I'm
this
happy to
guy,
hear
this guy is fucking bananas. We're gonna pick
Yeah,
him
I
immediately.
would argue that it's the ability to mess up a player's strategy to that degree is really powerful, I think. Because a lot of this game seems to be about setting up for the next turn. And if not only can you move them, but
Oh,
also cost them their action points.
Mm-hmm.
the costing
That's,
the
I mean,
action
it's a
points
double
is
damage,
interesting.
essentially.
Now, what I didn't realize was when it says range 3. Okay, it's a straight line. Okay, so it's not like it's this whole area around here. Okay,
Yeah,
that
I didn't
does
think
make
that
it
either.
better. But now it means that I can very safely attack this person. So we're just gonna do this, do some of this, walk over here, do some of that action. You can throw a spear, so I can't stand here. So I'm gonna walk here. I'm gonna throw a spear. I'm gonna make some more of these ladies. Uh-oh. I don't want to press there. I'm gonna walk you over here. I'm gonna walk you over here. And I'm gonna say I can't build anymore. So I am done. All right.
All right.
I think I accidentally skipped Dale's turn, so I'm gonna press check again to send it back to you.
So
Sorry about that.
basically, so you
Okay.
unfluted Dale's character, basically.
No! Now she
Because
has my queen!
she has her action point back, yeah.
Ah.
Dale, we need to role play as if that didn't happen.
Oh, so I can only go one?
No. That person can move twice. You can bop my queen if you want to, but you like if you want to join me in this role playing adventure, if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons with me, you with your upper shield guy, you can't use an action on that guy because I
Okay.
flew.
Yeah, yeah, Dale. I
Yeah.
think you're
Okay.
you might be confusing movement with action points.
I confuse many things.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Just the way you
Oh, you
described
know
it,
what I need
it's
to do?
yeah.
I need to flute. Oh, I can't flute. I need to move.
Mm-hmm. Well, you want?
Num 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 num. Okay. And then
So is there a reason you didn't move two other than to num num num?
I needed to num 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 it. And
Okay.
then I was going to
Oh, yeah, you're
I
within
don't
range
know.
to flute that king, I guess.
Yeah, so I was gonna flute the king.
Mm-hmm. Or you could.
Yeah, I was gonna flute the
You could
king.
bow and arrow it, but if you
Or
flute it,
I'm gonna
you loses an action point, so that's valuable. So I say do that, and then you have that
okay,
character
you're
on the
right.
bottom that can attack.
I'm gonna flute this. I'm gonna flute him. Okay. And I'm gonna attack him with this thing by. I'm assuming all the damage is equal.
I think spear does 2 damage. I don't know how much bow and arrow does.
1.
Okay, so then the spear is
Oh.
your best choice.
I'm gonna spear this guy. Okay. And then I'm going to.
You could make 2 characters, and you could kill that king with 2 spears.
Okay, let's see how that works. I'll do that.
So you have to move them off that tile first.
Yeah. Okay, so then I have to move him here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I have to spear him here.
And you've got just enough
wildly
resources to do that a
impolite.
second time. And you don't even need to use that action point that Lane accidentally gave you back.
Well,
Oh, but you can only make one
only
character
make
per
one
turn.
dude to turn from the yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So really,
I
you'd
can
have to.
only make one person per turn. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
part of your problem, Dale, is you just
Bummer
have
for
not
Dale.
you've just been not making characters.
Yeah.
So you're kind of down.
Well, and I've been killing them.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's true too. Okay. Anyway, I'm done now.
All right.
But now Lane can win just by going to the castle, right?
Oh, is that true? Is that true, Bev? Can I do that?
That is true. I'm trying to follow along with the slight lag, but I think that's true.
Okay.
Oh, actually no, because you can only move
My
once.
queen has one move, but guess what? You have 4 people within my flute range. I just denied 4 movement with 1. Now, these guys couldn't actually move, so they didn't actually lose a movement point. So
Right.
I may very much regret that because I suspected that I would cost this person a movement point. I actually think I just lost myself the game, but
Yeah, I think so.
we're gonna try anyway.
Well, the problem was you would have lost the game if you weren't able to make it to the tower, and you weren't able to because you only had one movement point.
No, that's
and
not true. I could have walked backwards. I could have walked back here.
Right, but you would have maybe killed two of Dale's characters, and she still could have got you next turn.
No, incorrect. I would have moved back. I would have covered her with these guys. All right. So anyway, we're gonna do this stuff here. Kill you. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna think about stuff, but then the queen is gonna die because we did not end up sapping this person's points. So
Yeah.
GG. I'll just pass the turn back over to you, Dale.
Okay.
Lane would rather just give up than try and fail.
No. Like it's really simple, Mark. Like my guys just don't have enough energy to kill both of these people.
No, I know. Just there's a sort of a sportsmanship thing of this, of just like playing out your moves anyway, so that Dale has the satisfaction of seeing you not quite make it.
Absolutely not. No, in any sort of like board game like this, if you cannot win, it is sporting to like concede.
Yeah. I just punched your king with my king.
Oh, with your king too, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I really thought Lane could have made it to the castle, but the way the movement is that it's not two away. It's two in a star pattern. So even though the castle was only 2 tiles away from Lane, you can only move in one single direction on a move.
Yep.
So I would say intuitively, I think Lane should have won, because I think unless that's something you want to hold on to, but I think the range of movement is a little weird.
I think that any sort of like okay. Personally, thank you, Mark. But I do think that like we're just kind of exploring the rule set at this point.
Yeah,
I feel
for sure.
like I had some like confusion around how the flute would work, and I ended up taking a really risky move and getting myself into a real bad situation. So but I do think that ended up showing that the flute is not as powerful as I thought it was. I thought that since my queen was facing all 4 of her people, I could with 1 energy of mine sap away 4 energy of hers. And I thought, wow, what a deal.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But it turns out it's a lot harder than I thought, because they actually have to be able to complete that move. So it wasn't as like freely powerful as I thought it was. So oops, and good game, Dale.
Good game. Okay, so my comments about usability are, it's hard to tell when it's his turn versus my turn, so maybe changing the color of the resources on the upper left and the little man and hamburger menu in the upper right would be helpful. Also, when I clicked check mark, it said you lose, and that really means Lane loses, and I want the record to show that I won.
Put it in the log.
We need your name in there. Yeah.
We gotta start keeping tabs on this.
But yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, and I'm really like, and I kind of felt resource poor at the end.
Yeah.
So it would be helpful maybe if apples or something mushrooms regenerated randomly, so you could feel like you had the possibility of getting more later.
My goal is just to have like a linear distribution of resources throughout the game.
Not that I want to turn this into an RPG or anything, but like one of the skills could be planting. So you could plant an apple orchard, and it would maybe cost. Is it really? Okay, because that feels like a way to manage resources in a way that like you have to invest action points and resources early to get a bonanza of them later. Or you can count on, or you could gamble that the map is because maybe you would have some respawning, but it's more of a risk to say I'm just going to go for making a bunch of dudes and get a bunch of attack skills and hope that the resources stay replenished enough. It
Yeah,
really
it's fine
it
if you
looks a
say that.
lot. It feels a lot like. I mean, a lot of the actions and the way that it works, it feels very Civilization like. But in the actual moves you make, especially because it's very much focused on make it to this place or kill this character. It has a really board game feel that I really like. Even though like you could complicate the mechanics a little bit more without it feeling too onerous to get a handle on. I think there's probably a limit to that. And it depends on what you're going for, I guess. But I like the sort of board game feel of it. I think it's really compelling.
Okay.
Cool.
This
Yeah, I'm glad
resume
that
button
came
is
through. That's kind of
broken.
what my goal was.
Cool.
Now we've got a little extra
All these
time.
buttons are
Dale, would
broken.
you be down for a rematch, or could I get another game in here somehow?
Could you squeeze through? I'll give you both mouse control back.
Oh, that's what's
thank
going
you.
on. That's why the resume button didn't work.
Ooh, fun new math features.
Yeah.
So, Lane, I
Mark,
believe
do you wanna?
you start.
Oh, sure. And we do have to kind of zip through this a teeny bit. We have
Yeah.
our next person who is up in about 10 minutes here. But yeah, I'll just kind of move along. Now,
Do you want to
like,
introduce that next person in that next game and ask if we have any playtester volunteers?
oh
Well, we
man,
zip
and the
through
next
that.
one, there are so many people in our audience who might be an interesting playtester for that. I'm
Ooh.
actually not sure if I can move here.
Oh, I didn't. Did I not give you mouse control? Hold on.
I'm not sure, Mark. I'm not sure.
Something might have got messed up. You might want to quit.
I
the
can
main
drag
menu.
around, but I can't select my people. So I
Oh,
think
okay.
we
Well,
need to
there's
go
an error in the
menu.
log, so it might just be that it halted some functions. I will go ahead and start us over.
Thank you.
So in that open screen, there's a bunch of different, I'm going to call them jewels. Do they have meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming it will come later.
Well, the number of different colors that you have is what increases the cost of everything. So you could either choose one color and go down really deep in that path, or you can get one of every color, but then they're going to become more expensive or you can't go out that far.
Okay.
Now, whoa, that's kind of weird. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, like Dale, yeah, you asked me to introduce the next person. Well, yeah, like this next one is probably like I would say maybe the biggest like one like just like this one, an extremely interesting like recurring guest. Like we've had Josh, Anthony, and Rebecca and his wife Rebecca Anthony with us a couple of times in the past, and they have worked on very interesting projects. They've worked on Insanity Wars, and I think they have chosen now something that is, or sorry, Sanity Wars, have picked up something that is way more ambitious than games I've seen them work on in the past.
Oh.
It is a very interesting like game that just like our first game came from a game jam project. And sorry, Dale, I should be talking on. Oh, I guess you skipped my turn for me. Thank you.
I ended your turn.
That's great.
You're
No,
welcome.
that's good. Yeah, and so Josh is here with us. Is that correct? And Rebby, are you here with us as well?
I am here, and Josh has disappeared. He's just not at his computer, but he will go back to he's in my space right now, but he will go back to his computer in a minute.
Well, Rebby, I'm glad that we have you because can you tell us from your perspective what was it? Where does this game come from? Now, I noticed that you've just put yourself on mute, which is a great response to it.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm in the kitchen and Josh is in here making a lot of noise when you just asked me a question. Gosh.
Oh, that's very.
That's very I'm so sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Where did your game come from? Like, what's the origin story of it?
We were participating in a game jam, and the theme was roll of the dice. So we took it literally and put dice in the game that you have to roll.
Now, there's a lot of directions you can go with that, right? Like, a lot of games involve dice rolling. So how did you end up with the specific game that you have?
It was also months ago. I'm trying to.
Uh-huh.
Well, also we were kind of speeding through the parts of figuring out what to do with the theme, because in past game jams we've spent many hours on that. So at some point we were just saying like, oh, but what if the player, what they could do was based on the dice rolls, or what if how much time you have, and that's what we went with, and it was fun enough that we decided to keep doing it, I guess. Or people seemed to think it was interesting anyway.
So you kept working on the game. Lane, it's
Yeah,
your turn.
It's my turn. Thank you, dude. While we're playing this, I do want to stick with Beb's game for just a sec here.
Okay,
good.
and I was gonna say that squirrel ate my apples, and I do not like that.
Oh, get wrecked, Dale. Get wrecked.
I think
You're
that's a
gonna-
great feature because, like,
Oof.
like resources in your area, you kind of have to protect them. And if you see a squirrel going for it, you have to be like, all right, I guess I have to stop my offensive to go pick up some apples.
Oh man, Dale, I am like fighting from a disadvantage here because I just had my turn eaten by my dude accidentally returning to the castle. So,
I
yeah,
don't
good
know.
luck to
The
me.
squirrel ate like 4 apples of mine, so
Yeah, well, I just lost an entire turn here. We're gonna go for. I'm assuming that the magic flute is still pretty good, but I'm actually gonna take spearing right now. Pay 5. Pass the turn. Maybe I should only be buying stuff when I can actually use it, but whatever. So like, can you tell us, like, Ben, like what would you like out of this game?
I don't know. I'm hoping it appeals to people that like other strategy and 4X games to an extent. I'm trying to make it a little, appeal to the same audience as like Civilization, but make it a little bit simpler, and lower barrier to entry. I'm not sure if I've got there though. I'm curious to know if people think this is complicated or if it's more approachable than something like Civ.
I think that the barrier to entry for me was very, very low. I felt like it was extremely natural to pick up just about everything with this game. I think that the big things that I would like to see at the moment, I think, would just be sort of like well, first of all, some niceties, right? Like, I would love to be able to press like enter or something to end my turn. I'd love to be able to like press like the number keys in order to like select my pieces. I could imagine it being a very fluid multiplayer game if it had things like that. Let's go ahead and spear you. Let's go ahead and spear you. Let's go ahead and walk down here. Let's go ahead and spear you.
game over.
All right. Woo! Revenge! Yes, thank you, Dale. Pressing the button there. Woo!
I like how the squirrel got
lose.
its turn.
Yes. Now, that like I have a lot of fun with this. I think that there is a lot of a lot of game here with regard to where do I want to spend my guys? Where do I want them to be doing more, like spending more turns harvesting? Do I want to be playing aggressively towards the opponent? I think that there's a ton of game here. I'm wondering, like, are you planning on like setting up like versus player? You planning on setting up like matchmaking against people? How are you planning on having the competitive part work?
Really? Yeah. Like asynchronous turn-based gameplay with, matchmaking over the internet, but I'm a ways away from that, but that's the goal.
Yeah, it's
so
really interesting. Are you implementing like AI opponents as well?
I've had enough trouble with like the animal movement AI part of it. Like there's just so many edge cases and weird scenarios to account for that I've been just overwhelmed by that. It'd be cool to have an AI player as well, but
yeah,
lower
I
on
was
my
gonna
list.
say that squirrel ate all my mushrooms and then ran away. So that's pretty or all my apples and then ran away. So that's pretty like convincing squirrel behavior.
It was a coincidence. The squirrel is not that smart, but I'm glad
So
it works there.
when you're talking about multiplayer, because the thing I keep thinking about the game, the most apt comparison is a game like Civilization, And
Yeah.
the thing about Civilization is that it takes forever. The thing about this game is that it's more constrained and strategic, and so I could see this working really well as a I mean, I think you even said like asynchronous, so like not worrying about just making 1 or 2 turns a day, and getting through a match like chess by mail. I feel like
Yeah.
if you pitch it at that as the primary way to play multiplayer, that can also focus your design on getting things to move quicker and also to not worry so much about like wild imbalances and outcomes. So like a chess game could be 6 moves or 60 moves, right? But
Right.
a more complicated strategy game should be about the same length all the time, more or less. You should always have a way to get out of a jam that you got yourself in. But a game like this, if you make a mistake, it being really fatal within a turn is not a failure, but it depends on how the player approaches the game, right? If it feels like, oh well, it's over already, or oh I nuts, like then that's different than like a chess by mail style play where you approach it where you don't necessarily have an intention for it to be over by a certain time or to fill this amount of time, play time. So I think you should decide how that works if you want to do real-time multiplayer. Also, then you have to decide if to make choices that work for both ways, right? Because it's harder to find that balance, something that'll work both ways.
Yeah, I think it is one of those games where you have to plan out your moves a little bit, or you kind of like get stuck planning whether you want to or not. I think it just lends itself better to that asynchronous over real time.
Mm-hmm.
That's good feedback.
Well, we're on to our next game. Ben, if you want to stick around and be our first playtester for this one, that would be nice. We sometimes like to have a rolling participation in that way.
Sure, yeah. I just got Parsec, so
Nice.
I think I can handle that.
And this game is really, I think I would say, best used with a gamepad.
Yeah. And
I
then
don't have one of those.
Well, you can use a keyboard also, and some people like platformers on keyboards. I'm not one of them, but there are. If it's you, should be no trouble.
Those people are crazy, but I will say that Josh did a pretty good job of setting up the controls for keyboard.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
think it's come a long way. Yeah.
Mhm.
It helps when your testing is primarily on keyboard.
Sure. Yep.
Nope.
Okay, so Josh, we were trying to pump Rebby for information, and she just couldn't do it. So you got to tell us, where did this game come from?
This came from a game jam last year by Mark Brown, the GMTK guy, and the theme of the jam, as she said, was roll of the dice. And I tried to just not get too cute with it, and we wound up using dice. And what we eventually settled on is you roll dice to determine how much time you have to complete a level. And then once you go through the level, you get a chance to collect additional dice. And then as you're doing that, you basically roll those on the next level, and you keep on going, so on and so forth, until you reach the top of the tower.
All right, so I have a question. So the name of this game, according to that, is Dice Tower FV. What does the FV mean?
FV is full version because this is a working title, and we haven't come up with a better one yet.
Okay, so
Yeah, it turns out that one of the largest board gaming review sites is called Dice Tower, or like review groups, right?
Gonna mention that, yeah.
It's kind of a problem because Dice Tower is, in many ways, the perfect name for this game because
Correct.
it is something else. So that irony is part of what's good about it. You might have some Google problems, but my instinct is to keep it. But I don't know if you're not intending to.
If the viewers have better ideas, type them in the
chat.
chat.
Let's hear them in chat.
I am starting to come around to the idea of keeping the name precisely because of the fact that it is the perfectly fitting name, and nothing else I've come up with just feels right. So even though it still feels kind of generic, and there's a lot of crossover with like Dice Tower structures, Dice Towers used else, where I just haven't, exactly like you said,
It's a good name.
it's a good name that fits exactly what the game is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ben, do we have you on Parsec yet?
I sent a friend request, I think.
Okay, let me peek for it.
And
Oh,
for
I see it.
everyone
It
in
just
the
didn't give me a
audience,
little notification. Great, that's my delay. You should be able to
If-
connect now to the computer.
and for everybody in the audience, if you want to play in the future, in the upper left of the stream, there is instructions at a bit.ly address. So please go to that and try out Parsec. We've had a lot of good luck with it, in this stream and outside the stream too.
Okay, and I just noticed the build version at the bottom. That is the fallback version. Did you have trouble with the .7 versions that I've been posting?
I don't
No,
think I got that
did not
link.
collect those. Yeah, we just did the safe version. Josh, would you like us to use the updated version?
I would
Yeah.
prefer the updated version first because that has a very massive, significant change.
Ooh.
Well, tell you
that
what.
I'm interested in getting feedback on.
Ben is connected, and I need the mouse to download the thing. He needs the keyboard to play, so we can do this at the same time. So we'll get him started, and then I will get this new build if it's sent to me in the Green Room channel. And I see it there. Actually, there's.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. So now I learned that FB actually stands for fallback version in this version, huh?
That's just to differentiate it from the Game Jam version.
Ah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just realized I actually can't do this because every time I change window, I take the window away from Ben. So we're going to have to just take a minute here. So everybody, vamp.
All right. That
Vamp.
said, it is also useful to play this version and the other version because, like I said, there's a major difference in the other one as compared to this version. So the comparison would still be interesting.
Josh, they gave us a time slot. Don't get greedy.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I was going to ask this question, which is, okay, you said this was part of a game jam. We've had several games that came from the game jams here. How much time did you have on this game jam?
We had 48 hours as well.
Okay.
And this wasn't compo. That was literally the strict limit.
Oh.
Okay, we're up and running. So, I guess you need the mouse to start the game. So I'll do that part.
You technically do not. You can start by using the keyboard space or enter as like traditional accept buttons are.
Mm-hmm. Then you should have access now.
Okay.
So WASD and space, I believe, is all you need to know, unless something's changed.
Yep. Or the arrow keys if you prefer that, or if you prefer something else, you can change the controls.
So Josh, we are looking at a unconventional first room here. Could you tell us what's going on?
Okay, so I will say this is a temporary first room because I did not get time to build what I consider the official way to start the game. So this is basically me just throwing a bunch of resources together into a room and basically copping out.
Yeah, because you are currently testing something with this, right?
Yeah, we're testing the stores system, which you'll see in a moment what that is. But then another system that was intended to go with the stores release, but I ran out of time, was a different start system, which I don't know if I want to talk too much about that at this point. I'd rather focus on the game at hand, but it basically would replace this room with a completely different way to start the game, and then it would feel a little bit more like you're doing a game start proper instead of just getting thrown into a level with no explanation.
Yeah, you mind if would you like to do an introduction on like what you're trying to do with this game, Josh? Or like, or would you like me to do that? We should probably set the stage for like what the audience should expect with this game.
Okay, so I'll admit I'm not entirely sure I got what you're trying to get me to say out of this. So could you rephrase the question?
Okay, yeah. So like you have a shop coming up that has a bunch of like movement options that you are currently testing. Why are you testing this?
Because let me think a moment for a good way to explain
jump Jump up at that silver bar.
How do you
Jump
jump?
is not space; it is W by
Oh,
default.
yeah. Sorry, W or up
Oh.
arrow, whichever
There you go.
control you're using.
Gotcha. My D and A are not working, but
Josh, why can't he jump?
I can
Yay,
jump,
you did it.
but I can't move with A and D.
What
Oh.
do you, why don't you maybe if you want to push the escape to open the pause menu and check what the controls are set to. This should have been a completely different version of the game, so there shouldn't be any controls confusion. But I don't know.
I think what might be
something's
happening
going
is, so this may be something where we have two keyboards plugged in, mine and Ben's. So it might be that that the game isn't accounting for that. That might be what's going on.
That could entirely be possible, actually.
And there's really no way to change that, unfortunately. But I mean, we've done this before on Parsec. I don't remember there being. But we usually someone uses the gamepad though, so I don't know. Because I can use WASD and the arrow keys. That was me just there. And then give it another try.
I also have a weird split keyboard. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it. Yeah, programmable keys.
Cool.
But yeah,
Hopefully not, but
I still can't use A or D. I'm
So
using
is
my
that
left
Mark
hand.
doing all the movement then?
no,
That's
you're
me now.
using the arrow keys though, right?
I'm using arrow keys to go left and right, and W to jump.
Okay.
Can you try going back to that controls and hit reset to default and see if that manages to fix it?
I can do that because I have not given mouse control. So reset to default. So
You
I
can
assume,
navigate the menu with the keyboard as well. You do not actually need to use the mouse for that, despite the appearance of things.
Oh, I just figured it would be better just for speed.
That works too.
So yeah, I hit reset a bunch of times, change the thing, and then reset it again. Give it another try, Ben.
Now I can't move left or right with. Now it seems like none of my keys are doing anything.
And I'm doing it now, and it still works completely for me. So I think what might be happening is that you're using Godot here. It might just be that the keyboards are fighting for control, or rather, the second keyboard is only marginally useful. That's just my wild guess, because it's
a lot of waiting to do. Never mind.
Okay. Okay. Well, in the interest of moving along, can we, Lane or Dale, do you want to play with the gamepad? Because if there's a problem there, then we know it's a Parsec problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get one. I'll get one started.
And you're both still connected.
Sure.
Yeah, because I've literally never had any issues of this sort before, so I have no idea what's going on here.
Oh, yeah. I wonder. Okay, so I'm connected to Parsec. Yeah, I was able to pause there, but there we go. Now I'm able to do things.
Yeah.
Now the lag here is kind of going to be a bit unbearable for me, but there we go. Tower ascent view. Cool. All right.
Oh, this is new. We get to get a good preview of the level. Do some strategy.
Yeah. So Josh, I'm seeing some things here, red, white, and blue. So those must be different sorts of coins. And I'm guessing that coins are things that I spend for upgrades.
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm pressing A. That does not do anything. So I'm going to go over here. Here we go. Oh, there's a store on each level. That's really interesting. I have 150 to start with. Wow. Yep. Holy smokes. I'm going to read a whole book here, folks. Add one additional constant. Oh, geez. Okay. So this is just This is testing a feature. This is not like a smooth user on ramp here. This is not the final copy here. This is just presenting everything that will be potentially available in one place. Ooh.
Yep, and it's literally just a straight up list at this point. No attempt at curation and hiding things that you can't purchase. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that like, tell us, like, what would you like the shop to be like ultimately, if you have any thoughts on that?
So essentially, the reason the shop exists, it requires me to go back a bit in time to the original Game Jam design, where my intent was to not just collect dice, but also have the player collect things that were called treasure, which were basically just plain old coin pickups that contributed to a score. Because one of the core pillars of gameplay that I wanted was to have a tension between multiple different resources that you need to collect and deciding what things are worth going for. But over time and through lots of playtesting, score was basically discounted by pretty much everyone, because unless you're caring about getting a high score, there's really no reason to be going after the coin pickups. So the stores were basically an attempt to solve that problem and give coin or power tokens, as I'm currently calling them, some value again, where they are essentially used to upgrade yourself as you're going through. So now there's a intended tension where you, as you go through the level, you can collect dice and you can also collect power tokens, and you ultimately need both, because dice are what get you more time to complete levels. Power tokens are what allow you to upgrade your player character or get items that make it easier to go through the levels.
Now,
And there's a
I'm
kind of a
seeing this
speed
guy-
run path, which is to try to get through collecting as few dice and like power tokens as possible for speed, right? Like that seems to be, it implies that we're like, you could, you know what I mean? Like the upgrades will help you traverse the level easier, but it's an extra challenge to not get them, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Because it
I'm
depends on your level
noticing
design too.
that a couple things here. I'm very happy with my run speed and ledge hang recovery purchase, but I actually like kind of like tap stuff real fast here. I would love to be able to see what ledge hang recovery is now that it's a purchase item. By the way, I know that you are throwing things in here, and you have like put this screen together incredibly quickly, and I was pretty amazed at how fast this all came together. But it would be nice to be able to see the things I already purchased.
Yep.
And additionally, I think it's actually pretty intuitive. This sprint speed. I was gonna say I wish I knew what the unmet prerequisites were. Maybe it should have in parentheses here like sprint, but I can literally see the sprint right here. So it's not that bad. Yeah, this all makes a lot of sense. But anyway, I have faster run speed ledge hang, so let's see how that works for me.
And yeah, I completely agree with all those points. Just not enough time to try doing anything about it.
Oh, the new interface here. Shoot. Okay, this is totally my bad, but like I realized I had some other dice, but I didn't spend any of them. So, oops.
Oops.
Whatever, I'll have to do better
7
next time.
seconds.
Anyway, good thing I have faster run speed. I think I'm just gonna friggin' die here because there is some tank lag. Okay, there we go. Okay, restart. Sure. And does restart go back to the beginning of the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I will say that as far as I know, this should work. And so far, I haven't seen any bugs from the various times the restart has been hit. But there were a number of bugs that I very quickly fixed at the last minute that were coming from game
Oh.
restarts. So it is possible we get to a point where a one that I missed is found, and you might have to just do an app close and restart.
Yeah. Well, game restart bugs are something that everybody's familiar with here. I'll just go sprint speed. Oh, you know what? Here's a little deal, I guess. I suppose I wish my power tokens were up higher so that this didn't cover them. I know you're putting stuff together fast, so I'm sure that's on your list already.
Yep. This is very
X to
bare bones,
transfer.
not final UI.
Perfect. X to transfer, A to roll. Let's go. Cool. 19 seconds. That's a lot better than what I had before. Now I
It's
wish
still
I
a bad
knew.
roll though.
Yeah, it's still low. When I purchased that sprint, oh shoot, I don't know how to grab this ladder. I'm just gonna go up here. I'm gonna
You
go
Should
over
be
push
able
here.
to just climb up it.
If you
Just go
push
up.
up,
Oh, okay. Um, sorry, not something I could figure out in that amount of time.
Isn't
Shoot.
up jump though?
it is also jump.
It's also climb
Ah.
ladder.
Oh, because I was holding A, which is jump on like the way my controller is mapped right now. So I like
Oh,
I
right,
didn't
right,
pick
right.
that up. But okay. So anyway, restart this.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh.
did I see a portrait of a man with a dice head?
Yes, you did.
Okay, just checking.
It's
A
part of the
little bit
lore,
of
Dale.
UI there just popped up. Presumably when you go to the store,
Look at that
that'll
bug.
refresh. Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's funny.
yeah.
Like I
Oh,
said.
maybe it'll go away here. Nice, nice, nice.
Mhm.
Okay, let's get sprint. Let's get sprint speed. Oh, we're rocking and rolling.
So
We're
there's
gonna
two things in here
transfer.
that's new, or at least I'm imagining they're new. I might have missed it last time. One is the ledge grab. I'm noticing that like it kind of halts your movement in a way that might be a little frustrating. Lane, you'll have to speak to that. And then the other thing is there any reason why you wouldn't want to just add all the
this?
dice you collected?
The heck is this? Is this a picture of like the level? What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. What the heck? Okay, I can't get up here because I don't have the wall hop upgrade. But what the hell?
Okay, I'm
Thank-
sorry, Mark. I completely forgot what your question
I'm
was.
sorry.
Okay, so first thing
Thanks,
is
I worked hard on that.
I'm noticing ledge grab. When you kind of jump to the next thing, it sort of halts your movement. And when I was just testing the build a little bit, it felt almost like the game had frozen briefly, and until I understood what was happening. But it kind of took me out of the flow. Lane can speak to playing just now if that's how he felt as well.
Oh. No, I actually don't think that I noticed it, and that was just because I don't know. I just completely missed it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just
But I
kind
know
of
that's new
something.
since the last time I played, I think, and I'm curious.
Yep.
There's a lot of like, a lot of calibration you do to sort of make so the player's intention their intention is to jump to the ledge or to grab the ledge, and there's like a little the game might not know what the player's intention is when that happens. So here, when you got to jump high, and it makes sense the intention is to grab the ledge, but I feel like if you're trying to jump over the ledge, it seems as though it's not unlikely that you might actually hit it, and it might feel weird to sort of stop dead in that spot.
Yep, and
True.
I think at least part of the problem is right now there is no smooth camera transition, so it feels way more jarring too than it might otherwise feel
Right,
if
so
there was not.
Might just
and
be
I
a
don't have-
presentation issue, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
but also the reason why there is a freeze on the movement is because I found in testing that when I didn't do that, it was pretty easy to get on the ledge and then immediately accidentally jump off of it without you basically having time to register what you did. So I basically edit that as a stopgap for that, and there can definitely do some with some fine tuning. So good feedback, and I agree with it.
And then the second
I'm
thing
really
I noticed that's new is that when you choose how many dice to apply to the next level based on what you've collected, is there any particular reason why you wouldn't want to just apply all of them? Because like Lane
might
forgot
wanna
to do
save
that the
them for a
first
harder
time.
level.
Okay,
So
but the question is when do you have the information that you need to make that decision?
Mark, there is actually, I just want to step in here.
Yeah.
There is a thing here that actually is extremely cool for that. Now, I'm getting used to these new levels, and like I'm definitely like I don't know, I'm being very challenged here. But check out what this thing does. Modifies the results of all normal dice in the tray by adding its roll result to their total. I think this thing is incredibly cool because it
Yeah.
means that if I want to hold on to some of these normal dice for a while, I can juice them up at a later point. I could spend this now if I really want that on average about 10 extra seconds, but I could hold on to it and get maybe more in the future. So I think that's a really good answer to that question.
Also, yeah, I would, even from another perspective, just the appearance of a special die makes it immediately tells the player you may or may not want to use this now. But just the normal die, I don't see a reason why not to just use them now. Not knowing how big the next map is, or I mean, I can see the map preview, but I don't necessarily like. I'm not sure that's enough information necessarily, because when you add a bunch of die, it increases the variability of how many seconds you'll have. And I don't know how many people are going to be able to do all that math really quickly to know what the right number of die is without trying it once or twice. And I don't know that it feels super satisfying to make that choice without before trying it.
Yep, and it's funny because I've got another complicated answer to this question because
disgusting! You have to press up on the ladder. You can't just hold it. That's so gross. That's bad. Where's my rolled up newspaper? I need to smack Josh here. That is unacceptable.
Okay, I'll get back to
I'll do
Mark's
that for you
thing, but
later.
what was the concern that you can't just go up on the ladder?
So like you saw me there. I was like I was holding up on the ladder while I was jumping at it like 3 or 4 times. And then I realized, oh, I need to jump and then press up to like grab onto the ladder. That's the problem I was running into.
You should not actually have to do that. So I'll have to look into that. The
Oh.
ladder is still kind of finicky. I took care of a number of issues related to it, but it looks
Yeah.
like there's still some finickiness to it that I need to address because you're right. You should not have to jump to get on the ladder, and that was not the intent that I had for it.
By the way, I'm doing a real bad job of showing the like rough balance of the game at the moment. I'm getting an unusual like for like I'm used to Parsec having about maybe like what feels like maybe 4 or 5 frames of lag, and I'm getting maybe about like what feels like 50 or 60. I feel like I'm doing things in the second later it's happening. Maybe Mark or Dale, maybe one of you would like to take over.
Yeah, I can tell you, Lane, you're running at about 45 milliseconds lag, which is pretty high.
Oh.
For this, it should
45
be.
milliseconds.
And
that sounds less.
I mean, it's not. That's the threshold where you'll start to notice it, and then it'll bounce up to 75 or 100 every now and again. So it might be because you live out in the middle of nowhere. But it might just be parsecs, thing. So Dale, you want to give it a try, and we'll see the difference.
Oh, I can give it a try.
Yeah, and then
All
we can
right.
always fall back to me.
Okay, and I wanted you to let everybody know I wasn't paying attention during any of that. So
so much the better.
That makes it even better.
All right.
Good.
So coming back to Mark's question.
Yeah.
So the original game jam design was basically at the end of the game where you reach the top of the tower, you have a chance to roll for a bonus score, and obviously the more dice you save up, the more you can roll, and that potentially has the chance to really drive up your score. So that was the original design, but the design that I'm going to be going with, and once again, this was something that I had hoped to be able to get into this build, but did not have time to, is there is a mechanic that I want to introduce that is currently being called dice boons. And essentially what they are is they're Yahtzee style pattern matching things where if you put in a certain basically combination of dice, it then gives you some kind of status effect. So then that is basically a reason to try not necessarily spending all of your dice on time, but giving another way to use your dice that isn't just solely on the level. So it's a kind of different way of attacking the problem of why not just throw all of your dice in there. You can still choose to do that, but you could also then, once you've rolled them, try to fit them into these boons that then give you these special effects, which also gives me a way to solve the problem of, well, if you roll badly, how do you really recover from that? Because then you can have boons where specifically if you put in these otherwise bad dice, you then get this really cool, powerful effect. So then suddenly there's interest in rolling dice, any particular dice value, regardless of how much time it may or may not add by default. So that's the complicated answer to the question. It is a problem. It's one that I have a potential solution to try. It's just not in here because I didn't get to build it yet.
Sure.
Mark, can you start me over from the beginning?
Yeah, I think I can.
Okay,
yeah, and I see you using the keyboard. You should be using a gamepad.
Yeah, it wasn't connecting for me, so I gotta let me check my Bluetooth again. It was working for me earlier, but then it automatically timed out.
Sure.
So I was like, I'll just use that.
Well, if you're happy with keyboard, go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna use keyboard. Okay. Great. Good move. Okay.
I do also have vaguely in mind ideas for ways to spend dice on things that are in level. I haven't thought fully through, but it could be another way of wanting to not spend all of your dice on the level, because there might be things within the level to spend your dice on that would also be potentially interesting. So I've got a number of ideas to approach to try and solve for that problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like- Okay. E for exit, huh? Nope, too far over. E for exit. Okay.
So,
Space advance, not paying attention to that. Okay.
Josh,
Entrance, checkpoint, later,
are-
one. Okay.
do you have much in the way of thoughts on like how your store will differ from how it is now in the final build?
As far as what the UI might look like, I haven't honestly thought too hard about it because I've spent most of my time just getting it to work.
Yeah, yeah.
So
To me, the abilities you've got already, it feels to me much less like a store and more like a skill tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
that
I mean,
is
even if you use the coins as your currency for it and still have it work the same way, I think displaying it like a skill tree seems intuitive to what you're offering in it.
that is a fair assessment for what's in there. However, there are possible things that I want to add that would function less like player skills and function more like items. There's only 2 of those kind of things in there right now, but I do want to ultimately explore adding more things that are more item based versus player skill based.
Okay.
So maybe then
Before
we
Dale goes into this next room, we should really say that Dale, when you go
I
on to
need
the
to go.
last tab there into dice, you'll want to
Yeah.
hit X a bunch of times on your gamepad before you hit A, because you'll want to add some extra dice. Die roll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Josh, I guess what I'm asking is, so in the store right now, as Mark is saying, it feels like a skill tree. Like you've got all these things available, and all the things that you ever will have available are ready for you right there. Is that sort of what you're planning for the final game?
That is very likely not what I ultimately want to do. I just don't quite know what the full shape of it is yet.
Gotcha. I guess I'm trying to piece together, like, are you envisioning more of a like a roguelike style where different options will be available to you each game, or are you thinking that there will be some other method by which you'll grow in options as the game goes on? Maybe starting from fewer options, but then like more deterministically expanding to more options.
Okay. Am I pressing A now? Or did
It's,
I?
Dale,
it's E on the keyboard.
right, but Dale,
Oh,
you ended up taking dice
go back.
away instead of adding them.
Okay.
Okay, but from here you can go back by pushing Q.
Q.
Before
Okay.
you roll the dice, you can go back from this screen to
Oh,
change
nope.
what dice you put in.
You've
I
already
rolled
rolled it.
it.
You got,
If you
Rolled
I gotta
it.
say,
rolled the die
you're
already.
screwed.
Don't worry.
so
Oh, I
Lane
forgot.
made a similar mistake of not adding dice, and then he added some dice, and
Yep.
we're getting a lot of. I'm seeing a lot of ones.
Amazing.
I
1 second.
hope you enjoyed that.
That was
Yeah.
great.
So to sort of wrap up this sort of the store, skill tree observation is like you say, you might want to have items in there, or there's a suggestion in the chat to actually be able to use dice as currency in the store for certain special things or upgrades or something. I think you're going to have to figure out what your constraints are rather than decide what you want in the store. That might be the way to think about it, because it sounds like if you have sprint and then sprint upgrade, and sprint upgrade requires sprint, that is a skill tree. But if you want to do that plus a consumable item or a power that has no upgrades, then it starts to then maybe you want a store and a skill tree. And then do you want a store and a skill tree? I think you should start thinking. I think you're at the point now where you should start thinking about what you don't want, so that you can sort of fine tune what that player experience is. Because if you go through this before every level, we're fumbling our way through this, so obviously it's a little bit exaggerated. But I think if players spend almost as much time in this part of the game as they do playing the game, because levels are going to be very often under 20 seconds. Or if you're trying to go for a good score, you want it to be under 20 seconds. That seems like a strange balance to me.
Ooh, interesting. There are certainly many roguelike type games where you do spend as much time on
Oh
the like
no! Let
building decision
go!
making part as on the
Yeah.
action part of the game.
Yeah, and if
So
that's what you
it's really
want, then
just all
that's
about
definitely a choice to make for sure. That's not a
yeah,
bad thing in
yeah,
itself. But I
yeah.
don't feel that that's what this game wants. So if that is what it wants, I mean, this is
Interesting.
very vague feedback now, but I don't get that impression.
Oh yeah, I'm very interested in like yeah, Josh, what do you want out of this? Do you want this to be more of a like an actiony sort of game, a thinky sort of game? Like what are you leaning towards?
So it is a very good concern to have that you don't want to spend too much time in the UI parts of the game because it feels less like gameplay versus running through and jumping through the levels. And that is definitely something I'm trying to keep in mind as I'm building these things. And the current interface is obviously not as optimized for that as it might otherwise be once I spent time kind of iterating on it. And a lot of this is to say like, sorry, and I just totally lost my train of thought, but yeah, it's a
All
good
right.
concern to have to not spend too much time in the UI parts. So looking for ways to streamline it is something that I will definitely be considering at some point down the line. But to give some additional context as to where things are at right now, the big focus for us has been primarily adding features that we want to try versus iterating on the stuff that's already there and refining it. And at this point, that's the area that I want to kind of stay in because there's a lot of things that are still on the list of things to try. And I feel like unless there's like some foundational issues that I need to deal with for the things that are already in there, at this stage, I want to focus more on putting the systems together before iterating on them, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Well, I think there's a very tricky balance with that
Dale
because
found the
like
exploit.
uh
You found the death movement bug.
oh man, that's funny.
Wait,
There's an
she can
interesting
still
balance
collect
there
stuff.
between iteration on systems and adding new systems because I sort of feel like if you do nothing but add new systems for a very long time, you can be sort of like away from firm ground, if you know what I'm talking about. Like you can
Mhm.
like it like at the moment you have just added the store system to the game.
Okay, Mark,
I kind of wonder to other
Okay.
people who have made games here, um, would you go on to the next big system, or would you kind of work on the shop until the shop is like a functional part of the game? What do you think?
For me, I would say that I'm very much the type person who will hammer away at a particular thing until it's done before I move on to
Yeah,
the next thing. But I don't
yeah.
think that that's a virtue necessarily. That's a habit
Hmm,
of mine.
mhm.
As is everything, moderation in all things, and there's many ways to do it, quote unquote, correctly. But I
Yeah.
will say the thing that is missing, and that I think is absent from your observation as well, is the sort of like design discussion, right? So
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
hearing is that you want to see how the store feels and how it plays before making any choices about how to change it. But I think you should be working towards a goal. And that goal doesn't have to necessarily be it should work this way specifically, but the goal should be this is how it should feel. So your goal could be like we asked you about like how much do you want to spend in the planning stage versus the execution stage, the UI versus the gameplay. And there's no wrong answer to that. It could be I want this to be a totally interesting strategic a game where I'm making lots of interesting choices about how I'm equipping and where I'm choosing the dice, and then 10 seconds of quick Twitch play. You could be the opposite, where I want you to click, click, click through the planning stage and then just, over and over try it until you get it. Or it could be a unique feature of this game that you want. It's as much a on paper strategy game as it is a quick moving action game, 50-50. So those are all correct options. But I think you need to decide what you want from that first. And then after that, when you talk about the store, like, oh, you don't want to spend too much time in the store, then you need to say, well, what should the player get out of the store? Do you want them to get a sense of like of every level they should upgrade every time. So it always feels like you're adding something. That's kind of a roguelike-y kind of thing, right? Or should it be that every so often you get this big reward that you could upgrade, and you do that in the store, because that's going to change how the pacing of the sequencing between those two things works. But you need to decide how you want that to feel to the player, I think, before you do literally anything else. And then
Ooh, I
then you're
could not
then you're
disagree
free.
more.
Well, but then you're. I want to hear your full rebuttal about this in a minute. But
Of course,
then
of
once
course.
you've decided how you want it to feel, then you're free to do it either way. To either do a quick and dirty version and let it sit forever before you make iterations, or to iterate on something until it reaches your goal. And then, of course, the goal will change, right? You don't carve it in stone. But then your approach as to whether to do it, as to the answer to Lane's question, is less important. It just could be how you like to work is the right answer to that. But I think without a good idea of being able to assess the work you're doing, whether it's getting closer or further away from that goal, or, oh, hey, it's getting further away from that goal, but I like it, so I'm going to take a step back and redo my goals. I think that's the part that I think is missing right now. And Lane, tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay, so I shouldn't say that I couldn't disagree more with you more. What I should say
I'm
is
just
that
needling you, yeah.
I think I honestly I think that there is a spectrum of the way people like to design games that goes from, and Mark, I think that you're kind of like far on one side of this, where you sort of believe that a person should come up with a design and then push the game toward that design. And I think that like the way that I've made games in the past has been very much like I had a certain thing in mind and I created it, but
Yeah.
then what I found fun about it, or what the audience found fun about it after the fact, was this other thing over here. And so I'm going to kind of try to lean towards that. I'm going to sort of like iterate and sort of organically build toward the thing that the game is currently doing the best at. And so like that's the only point of disagreement there. It's just like saying that like maybe since the like the faster paced action part of this game is what people are enjoying more than the store, you would spend more time like you would shift the design to fit that better.
And I would say I don't disagree with that either. I think we do work differently, that's for certain.
Mhm.
But and we've had that discussion a couple of times. And I think what's nice is that I think it's really it's telling, because the way we describe these things means there's no right answer. But I think we aren't disagreeing about this in particular. I think the thing I'm trying to say is that at any given moment, you should have something you're pushing towards. If you find that that's not fun, or a situation you're describing where players are giving you feedback, or you're like, oh, you know what, I have a new idea, then you do need to take a step back, change what you're working towards, and then go back into the fray. So that doesn't preclude a sort of like, let's just keep trying things until it sees how it works. It's just that you always have to, at every stage of that process, you do need to have an idea of how to evaluate whether you're reaching, whether you're doing what you want or not. And however you make that evaluation could be, based on this, this thing I wrote down that's really important to me, or this, I playtested this 7 times and this is the direction I want to go now, even though it's totally different from what I want to do before. And that's now replacing the earlier goal. So I don't think we disagree. I think it also doesn't impose a working style, but I think you do need to always at all times have a target. And whether you want to be flexible enough to change that target is really up to you. But if you want to keep that target and just, hell or high water, go for it. That's one way of doing it. Probably closer to my way of doing it, and not fully extreme. And then closer to Lane's way of doing it, if we're sort of putting ourselves on the spectrum, is to change that goal pretty often. Neither of those are wrong, but they would both require you to have that goal at any given point in time. And that's the thing I don't think I'm seeing, or I'm not hearing from your responses, if that's making sense. Does that, Lane, does that kind of put us together in terms of our thinking, or am I trying to make it too kumbaya for you?
Absolutely. There must be a goal. You're absolutely right. And I think that sort of like my only difference is being willing in the early stages of development to change that goal if you find that you are near some sort of like gravitational well of, oh, this seems super fun. So I guess like in our last little bit here, I guess I'd like to ask sort of Josh and Rebby, like, what do you think is the fun of this game, and what would you like to build towards?
Can I talk some?
Yeah, let's give Dale a moment first.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
please, Dale.
So here is the thing. I hate this game.
Okay. Thank you for
I'm
your
not
feedback.
into platformers. I don't know why Mark made me play this instead of having you play this. I think that I think you have like some potential um interesting concepts, but the UI right now is too hard for me to understand without having it explained to me. From player dice to like roll dice, maybe some changes in the background would help, from like a kind of like a green felt where you would roll dice to like a little like pouch of dice for what's in your hand. Um, and it's generally, I would say, too hard. And yeah. So Mark, you okay? So
Well,
that's
this
my
is
opinion, but
Yes.
that's also, that this is not my type of game.
this is
Yeah,
sort of
that's
what I was
why
getting at, Dale, with the thought of like you'd want to like take these new features and sort of iterate on them for a while, because right now,
Yeah.
like there has been a full refactoring of what the player can do with movement. Like Josh has added like about a dozen different movement options,
Yeah,
and
and
there is this
it's
store. And I think that at the moment, what I think needs to happen, I think is, in order to democratize the amount of people who could provide feedback to you guys at the moment, is the game needs to have a like quality of life pass, I think, in order to like be
uh-huh.
able to like make it so that people other than literally just Josh can evaluate the state of the game right now, because right now it is too confusing for other people to play.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, I'm
Yep.
giving
And
it a
then
run through now, but real quick,
I'm
Dale, I just wanted to
finding
make it. I just wanted to say
the
that
ledge hang
yeah,
the ledge hang is extremely frustrating because it gets you and it wastes your time when you accidentally missed your mark.
you'd rather
And
fall
so,
than grab in that moment.
yeah,
You are
yeah,
stuck. You are stuck for like half a second when you ledge grab. I noticed that also when I try it, and it's not fun to have
no,
that happen.
yeah. Especially when you're not good at the game to begin with, to put this much pressure on timing is, you either have to, make this game for somebody who really likes that time pressure, or you have to expand it so that there's, some sort of more options or different ways of doing it where you can have somebody relieve that time pressure on themselves.
Yeah. Josh, I don't know if you mentioned already that you added the training room into one of the recent builds. He did that because while I was trying to play test this in private, every time I said I can't even make it past level 2, so I can't try your movements that you added.
Uh-huh.
And so he made a room where there's no time pressure, where you can just test all the movements. And I don't know if that's in
Cool.
this one here.
It should be in this
Yeah,
build, yeah.
because like a lot of the time I was not understanding how to like actually roll my dice, and so then I just had to like start over because I couldn't do that. I would lose because I had literally 1 second or
Oh
literally
yeah.
5 seconds.
Yes. Yeah.
So like a little shortcut that I want to bring in here is, I really think that the game could be if you started with like, like 5 or 6 of those, like always roll a 6 dice in between each level. It would be just like the dirtiest hack. It would not be like a very cleanly made game at all. But the idea would be like, you'd bring in like a bunch of new people. You'd make the game like a lot easier for a lot of folks. And then you could like sort of include harder modes, I guess, for more hardcore people.
So
Lane, I
I'm
like
playing
that.
through now, and
Yeah.
I've just been giving feedback on the UI part because that's all I've been really sort of watching. But
Yeah.
playing through now, the one thing that's frustrating me most is that when I run out of stamina, I can't jump, and I can't. I have to sit and wait for like 4 seconds, and like, I understand the punishment. I think that's not unfair, but I think the sitting and waiting, um, because you can do these little short hops, but those have no value at all. And yet I keep trying them. So I'm getting frustrated with that part of
Mhm.
it. A stamina for ledge grabbing and for the holding on to the railings or poles, that feels very intuitive to me. But needing to have a full stamina bar to jump at all is strange because I also don't know, because I'm moving so quickly, I don't always know when I don't have stamina until I try to jump and it doesn't work. And that's like, ugh, you know?
And the other thing about it is that it tends to like or here's my interpretation, that it tends to mess me up because I had a goal in mind and then all of a sudden it's put on hold and I'm not ready to resume just like nothing happens. I'm still pressing the button as if I hadn't paused and it throws me off even more. Mhm.
So the jump comment is actually really funny because that was part of a recent change, because previously you could still jump full height while winded, and there were lots of complaints about that because you had the movement side to side reduced, but with the jump height still full, people were trying to make these jumps and it was ridiculous. So I opted to try a strategy where I tried to make it abundantly clear you can't do things when you're winded, you need to rest. And from playtesting, people are still not quite getting that, so that is quite clearly going to need to
Yeah.
be thought over for
Well,
sure,
well,
because
I do think that should be less harsh though, because I don't know if it's fun to have a game that's both speed running and you have to rest.
Yeah, I would say mechanically
yes.
it's interesting, but I think you said it, which is to make it clear that that's what's happening, and that's the thing
Mhm.
I'm missing. There's no bad
Yep, and
ideas,
then
but I think that the execution of this one is probably a little harder than you probably think. I'm not saying get rid of it, even though I don't really like it. I'm saying that if you want it, I think you have to work a little harder to communicate that to players, because it's a cool risk reward notion. I always feel on the wrong end of it.
Yep, and there's been a lot said that I have a lot of comments to, and I don't really know how much time we'll really have to get to it. But
Yeah,
I
we kind
will
of piled
say
it all on you at the end here. Sorry.
As you
Sorry, I was trying to talk the whole time, but you were all into this design thing, and I was like, I want to talk. I've been
I'm sorry,
playing
Dan.
this. I have been losing. It's not you. It's Mark and Lane, and I blame
Oh,
so I do want to say the whole, do I iterate on a feature? Do I build new ones? That has been a constant tension for me this entire time. And I
Yeah.
literally posted about that tension in the IGDA Discord because it's a really hard thing to know, particularly since I do, in fact, have targets I'm working towards and what I'm currently going with. And I'm not saying this is the right decision or anything, is I see a number of design problems that I want to solve. And in my mind, I want to solve the problems first and then come back and see how effective they were and iterate on them. So, like, the whole thing is, well, it started with in one build, you need some way to have hazards, but how do I do that without introducing player death into the game? Because I've been very adamant about avoiding like a health-esque system, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you need some way to punish players, hence adding the stamina mechanics where it can be used as a sort of softer way to get you punished for doing things wrong. And then at the same time, that also allows you to connect other things to the use of stamina to kind of open up the tree. And I could keep going on with like all the various things that have been implemented, but my
yeah, you
approach
could.
overall has been I'm attempting to solve design problems. And the way I've been currently approaching it, it's been I want to focus on solving the problems first and then iterating on how effective they are later.
I think I want
I'm
to
not
speak a little bit to a really good thing you're doing there, which is you say you don't want player death. Now, there's no particular, player death can be really satisfying because it lets you retry it really quickly. It's a pivotal feature to a lot of games, and a lot of games like this. So the fact that you've made that decision and that's what you're holding on to is, I think, really useful to you. And what it does is it then provides it puts a corral around your problem. It causes problems, but those are problems you're intending to solve. I think what you need to do is you need to make a couple more decisions like that are not about testing to see if it works, but about this is the thing I want, and because that will then make it easier to solve the problem, because you'll be able to say, does it work with this, and this, and then you can start testing it to see if the things you held on to that you're not going to change or iterate on, that you want, decisions you made, then you'll be able to see if those are worth changing after that testing. But I think you probably need to come up with a couple of more, a little bit more thought experiment stuff. As much as we as playtest, we're all about iteration and testing, but I think that you do need to do some thought experiments. Otherwise, you do end up with just a bunch of ideas, and then testing them becomes a logistical nightmare because you can't test them in isolation. They all interact with each other, you know?
Yep, and
Yes.
as always, it's hard to find the right balance of that. So
Yeah,
part of the
yeah,
reason
it's
I've
tough.
been so part of the reason I focused so hard on solving the design problems was specifically for this playtest. I wanted to try and get as many of the ideas in as possible. Now that that deadline's been reached, I'm probably going to spend more time doing what you said and reflecting
Yeah.
on the stuff that's in there and figuring out what is the right direction to take, because the stuff that's in here, there's way more stuff that is not in here yet. So then I have to
Right.
start balancing out, when do I start trying to put those things in, because they might solve some of the issues that have been brought up as part of these playtests. And what is, I just need to iterate on this thing that I have and improve on it so it feels better. And yeah, the balance is hard on that. So I don't disagree with anything anyone has said. I just think I've taken an approach based on a thing and I've stuck with that, and it's always open to interpretation and reevaluation.
Yeah, and you're damned for by having such a good idea for the core like loop of the game. You know what I mean? The notion of like of dice as health, of like giving the player control over the risk they take, like that sort of core element of the game is such a good idea that really you're burdened with doing it justice. So that's not. I mean, it's just not easy.
Every time I'm looking at these maps, every time I'm like at a fork in the road thinking, can I do it? Can I not do it? It is delightful. Josh, like you are working on something extremely exciting. Now I do want to say, I know that this is not something I can publicly invite people to, but if you'd like to follow this, you should definitely get in contact with Josh. Josh, like I don't know if there's any way, if you would be down to drop a link to your server here, but Josh posts new builds all the time. So I've been seeing like a ton, like there were like 15 new builds this week. So he's extremely active in working on this, and Rebby's been posting a lot of new art there as well. It's a game that I love to follow. So
if I can just interject, because you just spoke to exactly the thing that I've been intending to bring up. We just requested a channel for our game in the IGDA Discord, and if you want to get on the Lunacy Discord where it's more active, just ask about it in there and you'll get an invite. I don't yet want to create one where people can just join ad hoc, because I want to have some level of control and moderation over who gets in. Not that I don't trust anybody, but by making it so that people ask to be invited, I can control who has access to the link a little more easily. So it's more of a moderation thing versus not wanting people to join. We actually are very interested in having more people join. So yes, please do.
Okay, so I was gonna say, as far as the waiting for stamina, I think I would find it to feel better if instead you just took away time from the clock. And
I'm sorry, I find that funny because I did the system the way I did precisely because I was avoiding doing that.
Yeah.
That was literally what I was trying to do.
Stuck because I'm pressing buttons and then I have to like trace to where I am. But all right, I am gonna transition us to the next game because I keep looking at this and where it says collect strange rocks to power weapon, and I'm very interested in these strange rocks.
I want to collect strange rocks.
Rebby, do you want to be our playtester?
How?
You'll have to have Parsec installed in your machine. We can get somebody else started if you want to go through those instructions. You could always, of course, pass as well. Dale, did you want to give it a try?
I was gonna say this might be a lane. I like strange rocks, but
Yeah.
shooting stuff seems to be like more of a lane thing.
Yeah.
Lane is our shoot 'em up expert, so perhaps we should give him the wheel. But he's got lag problems.
Lane cannot play this game with a 0.75 second delay.
Oh, that's true.
Well,
Mark, maybe you want to do it.
Yeah, I can take it.
I can play, and I can tell you that I hate this game too.
No, I think Dale should
and that
get
it's
to
way too hard.
She should get to collect strange rocks as compensation for having to play our game just now, because that caused her physical and mental
Oh
agony.
yeah, this next game is going to be a very nice treat for Dale.
Oh, you think?
Let's pause for just a sec because
Okay.
we've allowed everyone else to introduce themselves. So our final dev for the evening, Carlo, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Hi. So I make the game where you collect strange rocks. It's
Yes.
called Theta Wave. It is made with it is open source, and it is made with the Rust language and the Bevy engine. And I just posted the link to the itch page in the YouTube
Oh.
chat. So if you want to
that's so nice.
look at the source code, you can go and take a look there.
Okay.
Uh,
Can we start with my initial impressions? I'm very
oh
excited
yeah,
to
yeah.
talk
Oh
about
yeah,
stuff.
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, obviously this collect strange rocks thing, great tagline. Secondly, the T being slanted makes me non-interpret it as a T, and when the first three letters of your thing are it makes me think very much a wave.
The a wave.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's just a comment on the design of the T. So I think that's just
Mhm.
like the slanty
No,
makes it look that way to me.
I'm glad you I haven't heard that before, but I'm glad because I haven't heard much feedback about the font, but I will look at other fonts. So I
Is this
appreciate
a
it.
font
of
that you
course.
made, or is that you pulled for this?
No, I was looking for like a kind of creepy font. I found it on Itch. I think it's credited in the Itch page somewhere. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I was looking for like a creepy kind of
Yeah, it's
font.
just
Yeah.
the T. The other letters I like. So I
It's
think,
hard to give
you know,
personality to pixel art fonts. So
that's very true.
for it having that one flaw and otherwise being relatively legible, and the theming of it comes across, it's a pretty good choice.
Yeah. Maybe try a different color, and that might make it into
Yeah.
more. But yeah, I can
Red
buy
on red, yeah.
I bought Mark a whole book on pixel fonts.
She did. It was great. We were at a museum, and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool."
Okay.
And then she got
So
home.
Mark, are you
Yeah.
giving control?
You have keyboard control, yeah, so you can take it when you're ready.
No. I pressed the wrong button on my keyboard. Yeah, I don't. It's not working with my keyboard, so I don't know that if it's my keyboard suddenly went.
Oh, it's not
Lost
working with my
battery.
keyboard either.
Okay, well then,
let's-
Oh,
here we go.
have you tried hitting
Let's-
space?
Okay.
Or maybe it doesn't work in the. Take it out of the full screen mode. It might be
Okay.
Okay. I can put it back
something
in
with
full
that.
screen mode now.
Let me just open it up and see what it does for me.
Dale, give it a try. See how it goes.
Okay. Oh my gosh! Not ready.
And it's a
Okay,
WSAD to move
restart.
the. Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Is R not working for you, Dale?
No.
Yeah,
with
I
my
think
keyboard.
the full screen is.
Okay, it's fine.
In the
I thought I
browser.
tested it full screen, but so it goes. Here, let me just
I
zoom.
don't know.
All right, give it a go now, Dale.
Enter to begin my journey. Oh, okay. Okay. Now.
So as Dale gets started, I want to say that we do have
Oh no!
this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to turn the sound down. Give me a second.
Yeah, I can't. Oh dear. What did I just? Oh no, that's not where I wanna go. I'm stuck.
Yeah, Dale, just give me a stop pressing things.
I can't stop pressing things. It's very important that I press all the buttons all the time.
Yeah, I have it. I have the audio is at. I have the audio at 1%, and it still is too loud.
Yeah,
okay, Dale, go ahead and take it again.
Well, I believe we're losing defense
Okay.
whenever a dude goes through the bottom. So
Yes.
watch out, Dale. No! How did this happen? All right, so there's a balance, Dale. You played the very safe game with your ship, but you got to protect the people of Earth.
Yes.
That. I wish I could.
Dale, you are very creatively exploring the physics of the game. I love it.
feel like I can't just like I keep going forward and I'm like, okay, that's too much forward. So how do I go back down? And
Ooh,
then
maybe
I just
press S on the keyboard or press down.
Oh yes, WASD is the
yeah, I
you
keep
can.
pressing S, so it's almost like
Whoa.
I'm gonna guess my keyboard is out of juice.
Oh,
And I
Oh,
need to change its
shoot. Okay,
batteries,
that's bad.
and so it just goes forward, and it appears like I am doing some very creative physics testing, but really I'm just trying to fight something on my keyboard. So Mark, this
No,
might be a
no.
good time for you.
I need to reload this page because that's what's going on. Try it now, Dale.
Okay, so it's not necessarily my keyboard.
It was
Okay.
definitely not your fault. It's the
Let me
game
enter.
when I moved away, I think to change audio, it like like when you hold down an analog stick and then you restart your Nintendo 64 and then I think that's what
Yes,
happened.
yes.
So real quick before we get into the feedback, I wanted to say that Theta Wave has a channel on the IDGA TC Discord, and I will respond to Revi's request as soon as we're done tonight, so that Dice Tower will have one there as well, and that'll be where the developers do whatever they want with that channel. And if you want to request builds or give feedback in there, that's the place to do it.
I'll look at her
In
go.
my time with it, it was definitely it was a lot slipperier than you'd normally get from a shoot 'em up. Dale, is that how do you feel
Yeah.
how much control do you feel over the
Well,
ship?
usually I feel like I have very little, and that's still true.
So,
like compared to like other ones that I've played, yeah, it's definitely more like physics driven, right? Like you don't stop moving instantly. There's a little bit more momentum. Notably, I think my eyes could be playing tricks on me, but I think that your bullet also inherits the velocity of your ship when you shoot it, in addition to going forward.
Oh, so I can like
interesting. That's really
Touche.
unusual.
Wow!
yeah. So it doesn't look like it just with the visuals, but it's inspired a lot by The Binding of Isaac, and that's kind of where the velocity, the bullet inheriting the velocity comes from.
Oh, I love it.
And I also plan on adding. In fact, there's another version of this game that already has them in, but it's like on a old Rust engine that's not being maintained anymore. But it had items that you used to you collect in Binding of Isaac to upgrade your character, and a lot of them improve like the acceleration, so it makes it more tight controlled. And so I didn't want to give you like the perfect acceleration immediately. You have to work with what you get.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this game is very hard, and I don't like it either.
there is a boss at the end, so if you can make
I do enjoy these sea creature things that apparently are also space creatures.
Yes.
I think this is part because the enemies don't respond when you hit them visually, but I think they just take too many bullets. I think that if they all had half the health, the slippy nature of the movement wouldn't feel as punishing.
Yeah, Carlo, can I ask, like, I'm trying to calibrate, like, how hard this game really is. I certainly, as a person who's played, like, a handful of other, like, shmups in the past, I had a hard time getting like, a minute into the game. When you played it, or when your community has played it so far, yeah, I found it very difficult. Like, has your community found it very challenging? Was it intended to be a very hard game?
So yeah, definitely this first version has a case of like me setting the difficulty just what I think is normal after playing it 100 times.
Gotcha.
But
yeah.
It's so it definitely needs improvement there, or at least it needs to ramp up the difficulty and introduce players to mechanics that or techniques they can use to play better. For example, like you have the defense and health. So I think someone in the Discord chat mentioned that and this is the way I intended it with the difficulty, is basically if you notice your health is low and your defense is high, you should aim to, maybe you can afford to let some pass and try to pick up some health pickups in the meantime. But if it's the other case where your health is high and the defense is low, then you start using physics, smashing into the enemies, because that's really your second attack. You really have two attacks. It's
Oh dear. That was
bumping into them
tiny. I don't
and
know what
shooting.
I did. You know why I don't know that. Oh, it's the devil head. Oh no, the devil head.
Mark, I'm gonna request
now
to
I'm
connect here just so I
going-
can watch in real time. I hope you don't mind.
Sure. You have to restart again.
You have
Okay,
to
thank you.
restart the renderer.
Oh yeah, sorry. You hit. I just saw what you did. You hit V. So you hit
Oh, I
V
hit
again.
B.
Ah,
That is a dev feature that I didn't remove from the.
Oh,
Oh.
does it stand for very much go to the left and make it
stand-
tiny?
It stands for change view.
Change view. Oh, of course.
Because it's so I can see that where they're spawning and what's happening before they get to the screen.
Yeah.
But
Lane, Lane, your latency is a little better now if you want to give it a try. It's still not great, but
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Dale, you mind if I step in?
Please do.
Okay,
you both have
sure.
keyboard control, so you can go back and forth as you like.
Okay, do
great.
you want to talk a little bit
perfect.
about the name Theta Wave?
Ah!
yes. Oh, you want me to talk about it? Yes.
Yes.
So it's sort of there isn't really anything in the game that resembles the name, except the word wave, kind of, and that's where you have waves of enemies coming in. But oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm very excited that just a jellyfish tentacle just broke off.
Oh yeah, yeah. That is the newest thing I added. That's sort of the first practice boss I made, which had multiple. I call them mob segments. So you have the mob as the head, and you have mob segments that can chain onto them and each other, and then you can build out more complex mobs. And then the boss is one, which hopefully someone today will get to the boss, but it's a mob that has chained mob segments that the mob can control and send kind of cascading commands down to control all of the mob segments that it's a parent of. So yeah, that was sort of what I worked on this a lot when I was stuck home with COVID for a week, and I got the boss and all that figured out, the mob segments.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm glad to hear you weren't too sick because you
No,
managed to do a bunch of work.
No, it wasn't. It was kind of one of those things where I felt mostly fine. I was just kind of frustrated. I couldn't like do anything.
Yeah.
So I just did this.
Yeah.
Also, hearing you describe it in terms of like repeatable structures, which speaks a little bit to your, open sourcing the project, building something that can be built out by building a system. I mean, that's not uncommon to most games, but just the way you describe it, that can be applied to other types of enemies and stuff.
Oh, that
Yeah,
also has little segments that.
Yeah, so the intention was everything in every mob, and especially the mobs where it matters the most because they're the most complex. They're meant to be very modular. So, for example, the missile.
Oh, that's where the mod comes from.
The mod.
Like, okay, what you call the things?
Sorry, mob.
Okay,
like mob, like it's just a moving entity.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I basically refer to those as like all those things that come down, the enemies and allies.
Lane, those things following you, point them at other enemies.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I just don't have fine enough movement to do that. So I've just been dodging around.
I assume they would do damage to other enemies because they do damage each other.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
They do. It's just hard to get them to run into.
There we go.
Yeah, you don't really have hairpin turns, so like you want to like wrap around another enemy, but they turn faster than you do, so it's hard to do that.
You actually caught me because I was using latency as an excuse, but it's actually easier than I thought. So I should really be doing that more.
There you go. Hopefully you get to the boss.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. I feel like I'm having a hard time with this defense thing. I just
Yeah. So Okay, I'm now seeing the issue. I'm watching the stream. Those
Yeah.
green ones, I don't specify this. Don't shoot those. Those are like those heal defense when they get to
They
the
heal
bottom.
the defense.
Ah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Those guys are buddies. I see. I see.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't really make that clear. Besides the visual
Ah.
difference.
Oh, those guys. Okay. Let's not shoot those buddies. Okay, great. Oh
Yeah.
no, but now there's some enemies right behind it, and
So-
I have sloppy controls here. That's not Parsek's fault, by the way. That's just me like whiptailing around too much.
Yeah, that's why. So those green ones, you'll notice you can't shoot the very front of them. That's because there's like factions in the game, and those are an ally faction.
Okay.
But I made their little trailers are neutral factions, so they can be shot by allies and enemies. So that way you can't just like
Interesting.
blindly shoot them.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I collect those those green things, what happens? Like those little bits.
Oh, those are how that increases your fire rate.
Fire! Oh my
So
goodness.
that's essential, yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
wow.
strange
Those are the strange
rock.
rocks, yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah,
Lane, you
sorry, I
hit
didn't
on a
make-
strategy that made a lot of sense, which is to just hang out at the bottom of the thing, so you only have your left and right to worry about. Like it makes
my
you feel more in
strategy.
control.
Hang out at the very top because the keyboard isn't working right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a very interesting strategy you've taken.
the other thing, and this is partly because I'm reworking that enemy, is those squid enemies. The tentacles don't damage you when you bump into them, and I'm gonna rework them so they do
Oh,
something
okay.
else. But you can just kind of
Gotcha.
ram up to them and break the head, and then you're good. So that's kind of the strategy for taking those
Oh.
out.
Sick.
But-
Let's go.
But it's good to
Cool.
I'm glad I saw that because like I didn't, that's something that it was just a blind spot of being the developer.
Lane's
not
having
knowing
fun
what to do.
now.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
I will say the thing I like, the potential feature I'm most intrigued by, but I'm also seeing it very hard to make good use of, is that thing Lane noted earlier, which is that
Uh-oh.
your
What
your
the-
shots
I thought I was
inherit
shielded.
your shots inherit your inertia. And I feel like that is a really, it's very unique to this genre, or at least I think it is. And it feels like the potential is enormous to be able to strategically fire around corners, essentially, or if there's an enemy coming behind one of the transports that you're trying to protect, to be able to have a shot at hitting them. But I don't see a lot of opportunity to make good use of that as a feature, and I'm not sure how much you intended for that to be a big deal or not. But if I were to take over this game, the first thing I would do would be to make that the core differentiator of it.
Yeah.
It's a
Thank you,
really
yeah, that-
interesting concept, especially because that's how things would actually work in space. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if maybe it would help to scale everything down so you have a bigger playing area and a smaller ship.
Yeah, I've been thinking about changing the size too, because the big thing is just has to be manageable by the player
Yeah.
in some way. So, but maybe if I add multiplayer, I'll certainly make it bigger. But the other thing is regarding what you said about physics with inheriting the velocity is
Mhm.
I am currently in my new version. I'm working on adding other characters and other weapons to the game. So the one thing I'm gonna do is make a distinction between right now I have 3 types of weapons. This is called the blast, and it's like the basic one. And then I'm adding I'm calling it the bullet, and that one actually has like a collider, so it will bump into an enemy and move the enemy around. So it's like a physical thing you're shooting. And then the third one I'm adding is like a laser, and that one, since it's light, it actually won't inherit the velocity. And so maybe I'll add a weapon that you can change to that
Yeah.
or collect in some way that and maybe you collect ammunition for them. So if you want to build up the laser play style, you can
Ooh, that came back.
upgrade
Well,
that. or
it makes a lot
something
of sense
like
because in a lot of these games, the reason bullets can be so weak in a game like this is because you tend to be firing 5 or 6 of them in a straight line. But in order
Yeah.
to do that in this game, you need to be sitting perfectly still. And and that's a frustration, but I say lean into it. And so I would recommend having the bullets not expire or have a range. Because it's
right.
not, it doesn't, the player is not overpowered for that because it's hard to shoot straight. And so I would give them the opportunity to sort of like, you know, fling a bullet 30 degrees to the right and score a, you know, because the further away a target is, the more satisfying it is when you hit it. But in the shoot 'em up, it doesn't matter if it's just a straight line. It's not satisfying to hit it because you're just going to. But when you have a system like this, it will feel really fun to just zip right for half a second, fire and zip back, and hit an enemy halfway across the screen.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think the only, and I could balance this. I could make just the range longer by default, but it's just I don't want you to just
so many drill bullets.
like shoot outside the screen at things that have just like spawn kill them. And that's the only thing or maybe I could just have them despawn at the top. But I could probably just do that. But
yeah, you could do that. But also, enemies aren't one-hit kills, so you know you'd have to be really lucky to be able to neutralize an enemy that way.
Right. Yeah. Well. So again, there's another version of the game where I've added upgrades like you described, like with like multi-shot and just a damage upgrades and stuff, and then you can, and even like changing the size of the projectile. So I plan on adding more ways to become overpowered if you play it right. But right now it's just so basic. Yeah. And the other thing I'm adding is abilities. So the other character I'm adding is designed around colliding with mobs, so it has a lot more health, and it has like a charge ability, so you can charge in a direction and just ram into enemies with a lot of speed. Yeah. And so, yeah, I am yeah, I think right now I'm trying to lean into the physics of this game more, because that's I think the thing that does distinguish it.
Yeah, it's monumentally frustrating, but I feel like it's worth sticking with because the potential is enormous. And Lane seems to be having a pretty good handle on it now. And I think you said it. Every developer has this. It's like the game doesn't seem too hard until you have someone else play it.
Yeah.
But I think the learning curve is probably a little too steep.
Yeah.
But I think you should adjust the learning curve and not just make everything easier. I guess I don't know. There's a million ways to handle it.
Yeah, well,
that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
You don't know how to do it because you got so many options.
If this were the like difficulty, like the like third difficulty of the game, and I started like this, it would be like a good compromise, I think.
One real quick, these rows of enemies, you can very rarely fit between the bullets, and so I would suggest just spacing those out a little bit more. Just a very specific arrangement thing. If you're going at them like upper left and they're coming at you lower right, you might have a shot at weaving between them, but I feel like that should be something that happens more often, that the player should be able to avoid that.
Yeah.
Without having to get all the way clear of it.
Lane, excellent job avoiding that ice cream cone.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So one thing I'd like to suggest is a generic system for like shaking or flashing objects. I think that both the enemies could use that when you hit them and do damage to them, and also when the like dudes are about to shoot, it would be lovely to know that they're about to shoot.
Yeah, they need to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like for example, these like tentacles in particular. Like it wasn't clear the first time I played that like you could damage them, because it's it's like 5 shots or something before you kill one.
Yeah, so those I'm gonna change, I think, to use a behavior sequence, because I want them to like kind of move like a squid, like maybe they move around randomly. But right now I just kind of added those, and I'm like, because I was testing the mob segments, and I'm like, well, I'll just make them bounce around like those other mobs that bounce around. But yeah, they need to be reworked and changed, that it's more clear how to. And then they're way too. I think my theory was they'll just be like a you know, the head is kind of weak, but the arms will kind of tank a lot of the damage, and then you can kind of squeeze some shots in if you can curve them right.
Right. Now this is just me being a total noob. Like I thought maybe I can like muscle my way in and try to shoot him. What I found out was that like my body contacting the squid's head actually does me like a ton of damage, right? So
Yes.
like I have to go up like with extremely precise control to get in through the legs and then shoot at him, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just. I think the other thing is I played a lot on. I played on debug mode, so I know where the hitbox is. So that's probably a big mistake.
Oh shoot.
So I've like internalized where the exact hitboxes are and
'Cause
not.
I feel like there is a good way to do this, but when I do it, I actually take like a ton of damage. Like yeah, I just like lost a bunch from trying to muscle my way in there.
Well, that's the thing about these being bullet sponges is it encourages you to do things like that even when it's statistically not smart, because it's satisfying to get the win.
It is, yeah. I'm just pointing out that the first time I tried it, like I actually like went in to try to like collide with it to do it damage, and it just like you saw there, it just took away a third of my health. Very quickly.
Wow.
Another thing I wanted to add is I'm actually not sure. Like I think I was able to pick up by observation that like when you collect the glob-looking things, you shoot faster, and when you collect the shield-looking things, it absorbs the next hit that you take. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So the shield
like,
is
rod-looking things. I wasn't able to pick that up at all.
the rod looking. Oh
yeah, there's a third pickup that looks like I don't know, maybe a missile or something.
Looks kind of like a wrench to me.
Wrench.
Yeah, the wrench. That's right. They're wrenches. So the green one, or sorry, the red and blue ones, they heal their health and defense respectively.
I see. Okay, so it was clear to 2 out of the 3 hosts here that that's
they're
what that
wrenches.
Yeah. Well, just like looking at it, I mean, I think I thought that there's going to be an attack upgrade, and it's probably going to be the thing that looks like a missile. That's what was in my mind.
Oh, okay.
That is what I thought as well initially. Yeah. I was thinking that missile looks like a wrench, but I assumed it was a firepower upgrade.
Okay.
I was like wrench.
Wrench, nice.
So, Lane, it feels pretty good to run into enemies, right? Like even when it hurts you pretty bad.
I'm looking forward to player 2. Absolutely. I think that's a very fun way to play the game.
So, Carlo, think about like, would it be worth considering to make this mostly a defensive game? Because there's 2 ways to lose. You can explode, or the Earth could be destroyed. But what if the only way to lose would be to have the Earth destroyed, and you're just bumper carsing your way to clearing enemies? And so you can all you're focused on is destroying enemies so that they don't reach the bottom, but that you're not necessarily worried about your own health. I mean, then you can even make the games more bullet spongy, because I'm thinking like keeping track of 2 of those things is a little bit. It's kind of just 2 health bars is all it really is.
Right.
But the idea of like preventing enemies from reaching the bottom of the screen at all costs seems really fun to me. More fun than it seems protecting my own fragile starfighter, which is hard to control, and it's going to hit a lot of things, and I'm going to feel silly, and I'm going to blame the game and its physics, and it's going to be less fun when I lose that way. So if I were invincible, then I wouldn't care about bumping into things, and I would just have to make sure I'm not dumb enough to let enemies reach the bottom of the screen, which feels like a really engaging challenge by itself.
I mean,
Speaking
that is
of being
very
dumb,
Space
I'm sorry.
Invaders.
What's that, Dale?
That's very Space Invaders. Don't
well,
let any enemies.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
But
I mean,
that makes the ice cream cones not really do anything, and I think the ice cream cones have a fun mechanic.
They're so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if all they are is just, I mean, you could have like stun effects, like when you get hit, you can't fire for a little while, which you don't want to do because you want every second to be able to stop every enemy as they get closer. And the ice cream cones are so cool to be able to guide into other enemies, but you do have to be very precise. If you had to be a little less precise, you'd have more fun doing it.
Yeah, I certainly now that you said that, I'm thinking about like, because defense is just one of the objectives I'm working on for a level, so I want there to be different, or not even a defense objective in some levels, but I like the idea of like in having like some kind of even like a bonus stage where it's like forget about health, even forget about defense. You got a time limit. Break as much stuff as possible, and collect. And I feel like that'd just be like a dopamine generator.
Yeah. Well, my pitch is make that the whole game, but it's definitely a pitch I'm giving you. It's not really playtest feedback. I'm saying that's how I would do it. But
yeah.
you know, so you don't have to take that if you don't want to make that the whole game. But because I'm thinking of this as having a very tight, simple strategy rather than a lot of objectives and modes and stuff like that. But that's just because I'm looking at it for what it is right now, not for what your full plans are for it.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. But I hadn't thought about even like a mode like that. So now I'm thinking about potentially adding a bonus stage or like a reward level. Like I want. Obviously, it's too difficult to do this now, but for example, if in a level like this you let 0 enemies past or very few, maybe you get like access to some bonus stage where there's gameplay like that might be like and have some kind of balanced reward that helps. But yeah, I appreciate that. That's good
well,
feedback.
it speaks to what we were talking about when we were playing Dice Tower. That Lane was saying that like you find what's fun and focus on that. And and also what your overall goals are for it. So if you have these 3 modes in the game and only one of them is fun, you could either cut the 2 modes or work harder on those 2 modes. Like either is a good option, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It depends on what your overall goal is for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also working on. Like I plan on having this is a little bit. It's a little bit related, but it's like I'm working on having 2 versions of this game because I'm building. At least I'm working on now a new.
So many ice cream cones.
Arcade machine to put it on, and arcade machine you can't use mouse controls. So
you need a trackball on that thing.
Yeah, so but like
don't make me force you to go out and buy an arcade trackball. For a game like this, I would argue absolutely. The slippery nature of the movement, I feel like a trackball would be excellent for it.
I have to try it, and I have to get one and test it out. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm working on. Anyway, I'm working on like a mouse version, like a Steam version, and then like probably a browser / arcade version that is simpler and it's I think I said it in my submission for the channel that it's right now it is just I'm the only person who's contributed to it, but it's open source and it just was part of it's part of an organization called Spicy Lobster, and it's like a kind of like an incubator for getting developers together, and they do like for their main game that they work on, they do like gig-based contributions. So they'll like if you can, we'll pay you to do this contribution. So I'm hoping to get more people working on it and kind of get more people working on, because I know I have like a lot of ideas for this that I've kind of put out here, and it's a lot of work for one person, but it'll be realistic.
Well, you can focus on a really pared down experience and then put up all your ideas for like pick on the GitHub page, like pick one of these and go for it. Here's a starter concept, to encourage participation.
So is the spicy lobster the reason why all your enemies are red and sea themed?
Just a coincidence.
For, of course, that devil head and those ice cream cones.
Yeah.
That's just a coincidence. So their main game that they started with is called Fish Fight. So they kind of like started with, or no, it's Fish Folk, Punchy, and Jumpy now, and they're kind of like these 2 other games that are based around sea creatures, and mine just happened to be like kind of like Lovecraftian space sea creatures kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it
I mean, like the green thing is definitely like a caterpillar that has a head that looks like a gamepad.
Oh, the green thing's supposed to heal me, right?
Yes.
Real quick, I want to jump in and say we're over time now, but I say
over time.
But let's give this a little bit more because we kind of ran late on everybody's. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, so you guys have that much longer to provide feedback. And then we do our goodbyes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Oh,
Thank
Carlo,
you.
I wanted to add something that this
Mm.
this experience is bringing to mind. When I like published my first shoot 'em up game, my only shoot 'em up game. I don't know why I said my
Yeah.
first.
Also, maybe you want to mention the name of it.
No thanks. So
Okay.
my like what we did was we like in order to like try to balance it, because we had played the game like a million times, was we coded something in so that we could like delay our input by like 20 frames, like to make it just so that we were playing with like terrible latency. And our thinking was, if
Oh,
we could beat it under that, then a new player could beat it. Like that
that's
was a like
interesting. I haven't thought
yeah.
of that.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say, Lane, when you were playing that, you were just like so good at it. It was really annoying.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
we
a great
had to like
idea.
create a very creative system, I think, in order to like challenge ourselves.
I'll try that. Yeah, I'll make like a version of the game that's just like, I don't know.
Oh,
Or
easing in on the side of these squid is so fun. Like, dude, like this game, like when it like when I know what I'm doing, it like is so fun.
Yeah, I do like to see those squid tentacles like flying around. Those are the
Oh.
devil heads.
Oh man. Oh.
I think you were almost to the boss.
Yeah. I felt like that
Ooh.
long delay. I was getting excited. Oh man, this is so cool. The toolbars bars is kind of interesting though. Like, I like the complexity that adds, because sometimes I'm desperate to protect myself, and sometimes I want to like sacrifice myself to protect the base. I kind of wish, like in the easy mode of the game, like maybe not the final mode, but like the easy mode, that the healing was a little bit more prevalent, because I would love to like be able to like sacrifice myself a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, I think I already have buffed that like doubled it in
Oh,
the
sure.
new version. So yeah, I'm like, because I realized, I think it became more apparent as I added this new character, because I added a character that's meant to not only smash, but basically mainly smash into others.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then I was like, can you actually replenish your health realistically? And the answer was no. So then I buffed them, and then I'm like, everyone says the game's too hard anyways. This is probably like a really easy change to make.
True.
A random cheat here. I'm wondering if you could make the player's life easier by making it so that the enemy on enemy collision radius is larger.
Oh,
Like,
just
'cause
make their hitboxes a little bit bigger.
Maybe. It's just that, like, they require like at the moment like a couple of pixels of overlap. Like, can you cheat my favor a little bit, please?
No, I think you're right, because I tend to, I think I didn't do it enough, but for the player hitbox I make it smaller than it should be, and then for the enemies I generally make it larger than it should be.
Okay, yeah.
And then balance it based on that, because then the player isn't like, oh my god, that should have been a hit. and then so I'll probably make them a little bit bigger.
Oh, such a generous dev.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I am actually looking forward to like playing some salty rounds of this afterwards, so that I can play it without the latency. But like, this is delightful. Now, when I picked this up, this wrench, I should have healed health. Is that correct? Because it was reddish.
The red one, yeah, it heals. I mean, I'm looking right now when you pick it up. Oh wait, no, you missed it. But yeah, it heals health, but it's too little, and sometimes the fact that you wouldn't notice it shows how little it is. That
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got extra health. I can bully these guys a little bit. Okay, now I don't. Oh no!
I'm back. What did I miss?
With like the 10. It's too much.
I don't know how to answer that question, Mark.
More of the same. More of the. Oh, okay. There. Now I saw my health go up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, like this is. I mean, this is very redundant. But I'll just say, like, if you make a very generic like shake and flash thing, you can use that literally everywhere. You can do like, oh, I'm an enemy. I took a hit. Shake and flash. I just healed health. Shake and flash the health. Like that kind of thing. Like it's just gonna make everything so much more clear very quickly.
Yeah, I think that on the so basically the spicy lobster community, they call that juicing. the
Juicing,
game.
okay. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and there's like a talk about that I think they reference, but I think my next one after I add these abilities and this character and the new projectile types is going to be all about
Shoot.
juicing and giving feedback and to the player and all that.
I can't blame latency for that one. That was just me being greedy. Oh boy. Yeah, now I gotta say that juicing, I mean, that's a great word for it. That's exactly what it is. But there is a level at which like people can be like, oh, like juice is kind of like discretionary. It's like it's just a thing to make your game sell better or read like but honestly, like it does help people understand what's going on a lot of the time. So it can be a feature to help testers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want
the
to
best
add
juice is functional. You know,
yeah,
not just,
exactly.
Not just,
I think
not just fun, right? And Lane is describing exactly
Right.
the use case for its function.
And you also gotta remember, you're gonna have players like me who don't understand anything.
yeah, there's things I need to there.
Very helpful.
I was gonna say the first thing that I think I'd add for that is because I think I had this at RustConf on my arcade machine that I brought there, and the biggest thing was people they'd lose from the defense bar depleting, and they'd be like, I don't get it. Why did I lose? And it's because there wasn't enough indication of that. So I might add like a flashing red thing at the bottom, like, hey, you're letting them pass. Like, don't do that, or something like something that.
It's also it could be you could put the health bar for defense down there. You know?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
There's you'd be surprised how easily like, oh, this works, it's good, and then you like, oh, actually you could change it a lot and it would work a lot better, and it's hard to see that sometimes.
Yeah, you might also consider, like if you move the defense bar to the bottom, you might consider switching up the colors too, because you have little blue details on your ship.
Oh my
Right.
goodness.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to.
No! I was so strong.
I'll have to think about what the. Because I have other characters with different color palettes, but there's probably a way I could do even with like an outline of the character and make it more clear. Because I'm gonna have to do an outline for the character when I add multiplayer anyway, just to say who's player 1 and player 2. So I might just add that and coordinate it with the health bar. So yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, Lane. Final thoughts before we boot you off the game and say goodnight.
Oh boy. Shoot. Final thoughts. Like, I love the systems the way that they are right now. Like I enjoy how with very simple, just like 2 bars, and momentum, I care about so many things, and like different pressure is placed on me in different ways. I love that. I wish it was more clear because I feel like playing it with you talking to me. It's been an extremely enjoyable experience. And I was very confused when I played this originally. So like readability is number 1 for me. Additionally, I do encourage you to like make a mod where you can play this as a new player would, for example, with like added some latency for yourself or something. Just because I do think that like onboarding. Like similar to our discussion with Dice Tower, it's nice to like sort of democratize who is allowed to give you feedback. And right now, basically nobody can because it's just real hard.
It's just Dale and Lane.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I think I might even add some kind of, because right now it's it's meant to be random. So the level there's a list of formations and then it selects the formations from a pool to put in the level. But I might do like a scripted, maybe for each character, just a scripted level that's like, here's how you shoot. Don't let enemies pass. Now go to the real level, and some kind of tutorial that holds your hand. That, because I think if people are finding this game on itch and they're playing it and they don't understand those things, they're probably just like, I don't get it, and then move on. And if I can get them to understand it and play it for longer, I can probably get better feedback and make a better game. So
The squid, by the way, I think that's really cool. The fact that you can sort of like nudge the legs aside and shoot at the head, I think that's fantastic. I also think that like there's probably a lot of room for enemies that have like just explicit like armor spots on them,
Mm,
treating the enemy like it's a breakout block or whatever. Where some spots on it you can't shoot, and other spots you can shoot and kill it quickly. I
yeah.
think that there's like additional ways to communicate that concept that could be really cool.
Yeah, the boss has like the head is basically the vulnerable part, and
Ooh.
all the other parts are like meant to like it moves its arms to protect its head.
Yeah.
So it sort of is meant
Oh.
to to do that. And but I've gotten feedback from that boss that it's not clear that. So I'll have to do something with the flashing effects when you hit to say this is a weak point or this is like not really like a vulnerable point of the enemy, and maybe focus your fire somewhere else. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to balance because on one hand I want, I think, make designing the boss the way I did, you can shoot one of its arms off, and so I don't want to necessarily discourage that, but I also want to make clear that, you know aim for the head if you want to deal the lethal blow to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So
honestly, I do think
yeah.
that like a boss, like that's where like Star Fox 64 introduced that concept as well. Like I think that's a
Mm,
great spot to introduce that concept. People expect to like level up and think a little bit for the bosses.
mm.
Rebby says it took me this long to notice that the earth in the background is slowly moving. That's a nice ambient effect. I totally agree. That's awesome.
Yeah, I thank you. Yeah, I made those with I don't know if you've heard of Crocodile, but
Crocodile, no.
it's like a simple tiling like 3D modeling thing that I've been using, and
Mhm.
I want to add kind of more kind of cosmic horror-y backgrounds. So, but I'm not good enough at modeling to make those yet. So hopefully I'll have better backgrounds next time. More stuff going on.
All right, Carlo. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
joining us.
Yeah.
Dale, any
Thank-
final thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you to all the playtesters. Well, thank you, Dale. You did such a great job telling everybody their games are too hard. But all the
Yeah, thank you,
developers
Dale.
for bringing bringing their games here, because it really gives us content, and it's something that we want to do for you, is provide you some, sometimes really raw feedback about how the game plays with people who are either not used to playing your game or not used to playing that genre of game. So, if Mark's ready to take us out, I have an ending quote.
All
It
right.
is, I want the people to know that they still have 2 out of 3 branches of government working for them, and that ain't bad.